Okay, we are back. All right, I am Alexandra and I will be your super compare for this event. So excited again, right? And I'm just going to talk to you
Hey,
about the Now You See Me
we
con
are back.
introduce
All right,
the
I
Now
am
You See Me con
Alexandra and I will be your.
I think I can hear feedback. Can you hear me? Please just confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I thought I had an echo. Okay. All right. I'm just going to talk to you about the Now You See Me conference and just introduce you to what the concept is for everyone who's just joining and who just um is learning about the Now You See Me conference. The Now You See Me conference is a platform for every woman who is looking to rise, who is looking to become a beacon of hope, and who is looking to lead an impactful life. This conference is typically a one-day online conference that fosters conversations around helping women move from positions of obscurity to prominence in all aspects of life. The maiden edition was held in March 2021 and it was themed from obscurity to the limelight. And since then, we've been consistent holding this conference every year. Just look at that, right? And in this conference is so important and pivotal because women consistently struggle, to express themselves in our society. They struggle to take up prominent roles. There have been a lot of gains, up until this point, but there's still a lot more ground to be covered. And so I think it's just important that we continue to have more conversations that help women grow in confidence, that help them grow in agency, self-efficacy, and help them lead very impactful lives, right? And I think that it is critical for women so that we can raise the next generation of girls. Because typically, in our family settings, women are the custodians of culture. So in helping women, lead this way, we're able to help them, impact the next generation in a way that is culturally, religiously, and societally um and enabling to ensure that it's not an obstacle for your girls to achieve greatness, right? So this platform and this conference is for women to rise and express themselves. We bring together women across all divides. There's no divide. We're all women, and that's what binds us at heart, right? Everyone, it doesn't matter what you're doing, an entrepreneur, career professional, a stay-at-home mom, as far as you're a woman who desires to be more, do more, stop hiding and contribute, Now You See Me conference is for you. And today I will just go ahead to introduce our super, super convener, Adeola Babatunde. Let's give a resounding applause for her.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Alexandra. Good morning again, everyone. Good morning. Let me just replace this. Yes, thank you so much. All right, so thank you to all our guests. Thank you to our distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to have you all here. Just after I gave my opening remark, Mrs. Olubumi Obutaya joined us. So thank you so much, Ma. We are so honored to have you and all the other speakers. And to every other person who can hear me on YouTube, you would notice that we dropped another link in the WhatsApp group. Technical difficulties cannot stop us. We don't do that here. And so we dropped another link in on the WhatsApp group. Please feel free to share that link with all of your friends, families, and colleagues so they can join us. They are going to be watching live on YouTube, and then we're going to be having the conversations more controlled in here. And so I'm going to start my presentation today by giving a summary of the path to significance. And I have a secret to unveil later at the end of this meeting. And it is that, well, it's no longer a secret since I'm going to be sharing it with all of you. But I have something to unveil that led to this topic. I'm going to tell you how this topic came about and why this topic at this time. And so, as you all know, the topic is the path to significance, living a life, right, of significance. And what does all of that mean? Now, it started from thinking through, why are we really here? It started from a deep introspection about what are we really meant to be doing while we are on this path of the world. Because I want to assume that there are other parts that we may or may not see. At least we know that there are some parts we can't see when the people are drilling for oil and they go deep down to drill for oil. Certainly, we cannot see those parts easily, except there, people go down there and show us what is there. So that being said, I really thought deeply and introspected along the lines of, why are we here? What are we meant to be doing, while we're here? Are we meant to just, go to school, get a good job, have children, get married, attend a couple of events and parties, and then die? It seemed like it wasn't enough for a human being to just go through that short cycle I just described. It seemed like there was more. And so that led me to writing a book. Yes, I just said it, to writing a book. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have successfully written my very first book. I'm besides myself right now, and we are going to be launching that book right at the end of this conference. But before we get into matters of me, I'm going to get into the matters of the distinguished speakers who are going to be speaking today. Thank you so much, Mr. Sajay. Right, I'm going to be getting into the conversations around the distinguished speakers, and we're going to be speaking. We're going to be having breakout sessions where we're going to be talking and really leaning into their wisdom. So thank you all. So why significance? The major question or the major sentence I want us to unpack this morning is, you were created for something. So if you're listening to us on YouTube, please drop your questions, drop your comments. We will be reading them and we will be engaging with you as much as we can. So thank you, Alexandra. I know that you're on top of that. So the real question is, why you were created for a reason. The whole conversation around significance lies on that sentence. You were created for a reason. And if we look at that sentence, someone created you. And so when we look at that whole creation story, essentially, I always like to say that a product gets its meaning from the manufacturer. So if I look at this bottle of water beside me, the person who created it, or the company, they had something in mind, and they thought to themselves, okay, this bottle is going to move clean water. It's going to move clean water around, and people are going to be able to have potable water. My children did something interesting. They put water in this one, even though you can see it has a green cover, and this was not the original content, right? It was Sprite in it. So essentially, the manufacturers of this bottle thought, you know what, we're going to put sugar in this bottle. Don't worry, I'm anti-sugar, so I'm suddenly trying to, talk about sugar, but I'm just going to hold it right there. Essentially, the manufacturer determines what the product is going to do. It determines what the product is for. And so when you look at that statement, that sentence that says you were created for something, for a purpose, essentially it means that the person who created you looked at you and said, I want you, I want Folashayo, I want Alexandra, I want Abiola, I want Osaje, I want Mrs. Olubumi, I want you to achieve this thing. It means, therefore, that if you are not doing that thing, if you're doing something else, then you're not fulfilling the purpose for the manufacturer. Now, I want you to I just want quick feedback. You can unmute your mic or you can send it in chat. I want you to unmute your mic, whatever you want to do, just give me a quick feedback. If you, listening here, so it's 5 of us, if you had a car and you bought that car, let's say you bought a Range Rover, okay? Let's say you bought a Range Rover and you wanted that Range Rover to do many amazing things for you, drive you around, just do many, take your children to school, whatever it was. And all of a sudden, the Range Rover was parked in your house And the only thing in that Range Rover was empty boxes of stuff. So you bought a TV, you put the empty box in the Range Rover. You bought an air fryer, you put the box in the Range Rover. All the stuff, empty plastic bottles and stuff. Would you feel like the Range Rover was achieving the purpose for which you bought it? You can unmute, you can send a message, whichever one works for you. Please let me know.
Absolutely not.
Thank you, says Alexandra. Yes, Isabella wants to say something. Isabella, did you unmute or did you send a message? Did she unmute? Did Folashaye unmute or did you send a message?
Obviously, the Range Rover was not serving the purpose that it was bought for.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Solubumi. So the question I then pose to everyone is, are you a Range Rover with empty cardboard boxes, with empty plastic bottles? Or are you a Range Rover that is taking its owner around, boosting their status, making them feel comfortable from one place to another? Are you really fulfilling the purpose for which you were created? So I know it's not a church service, and I'm not meant to at some point collect offering and open Matthew 7:2 for you guys. However, this is genuinely what I think about significance, because we can't have the conversation about significance without talking about the manufacturer, who is God. So essentially, I'm saying, to summarize my speech, is saying, if you are going to be significant in any way, shape, or form as a human being, you will, at some point in your life, have to stop and say, what was I created for? And if you don't have the answer to that question, you will take some time off to ask the manufacturer. And he will tell you that, if you allow him to tell you what you were created for, so that way you don't feel like you're living somebody else's life. You don't feel like you're just wasting your time and then just, growing older without doing anything meaningful with your life. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is my little submission on living a life of significance. And the path to significance, as I know it, is that you find out what the manufacturer wanted you to do when he created you, and then you walk that path and you will become significant. So that is from me this morning. So thank you everyone for joining us. I will now be handing over to our beautiful moderator, Alexandra, who will be doing an amazing job of introducing our first delectable and beautiful speaker, very dear to my heart. And yes, I will now hand over to Alexandra, who is going to read her profile and introduce our very, very, very first speaker. All right, Alexandra.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was such a stirring and reflective opening. You saying that we were created for a reason. And I love how you stayed with that. And then moving on to saying that your understanding of significance is that we can't have significance without the creator of us, the person who made us. So significance begins with going back to the creator and finding out, what's my blueprint? What was I made for? That was very stirring and reflective. Thank you so much, man. All right, I am going to introduce the beautiful, brilliant Mrs. Olubunmi Oguntayo. Mrs. Olubunmi Oguntayo is a seasoned public sector professional and an accomplished administrator.
Alexandra?
Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes, I can hear you. I think we're starting with Folashaye. Do you want to confirm that?
Oh, pardon me. I am
Yes,
so
thank
sorry.
you. It's okay.
And the funny thing is, I had has opened. Just give me a few seconds. Yep. Sorry about that. These things do happen. Okay, we're starting with the amazing Folashayo Fatunbi, all right? Sorry about that. Folashayo is a passionate people professional who believes in growth, purpose, and doing things the right way. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration, the Human Resources Management option from Bells University of Technology, and a Master of Science degree in Industrial Relations and Personnel Management from the University of Lagos. Folashayo is an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, and she's also an internationally certified senior professional in human resources with the Human Resource Certification Institute. With years of experience working closely with individuals and teams, Folashayo has developed a deep appreciation for structure, fairness, and human connection. She brings real-world insights to conversations around employee relations, professional conduct, leadership accountability, and practical development in the workplace. Known for her relatable style and practical examples, Folashayo engages audiences with clarity, warmth, and depth. Her sessions are designed to educate, challenge perspectives, and equip individuals with the tools they can immediately apply in both their professional and personal context. Beyond her professional life, Folashayo values faith, continuous learning, and meaningful conversations. And Folashayo is deeply driven by a desire to serve, inspire, and leave every space better than she met it. With a resounding applause, let's welcome this woman who is going to engage us with clarity, warmth, and depth. Welcome, Folashayo. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. Thank you. Good morning, distinguished guests, organizers, and fellow leaders. Thank you so much once again for the honor of being here. When I was invited to speak on the topic, building significance in real time, choosing meaning while still becoming, I paused because that phrase actually captures what many of us here are living with every single day. We are all becoming better leaders, becoming stronger professionals, and becoming more self-aware individuals. And yet, in the midst of all that becoming, we are expected to make decisions that shape our lives, our families, organizations, and futures. So the question is, do we wait till we feel fully ready, fully certain, and fully clear before we choose meaning? Or do we build significance right now in real time while we are still becoming? Today, I want to share three ideas that I hope will stay with you long after this conference ends. One, make value driven decisions. Two, build confidence intentionally. Three, pursue meaningful impact without waiting for perfect clarity. In corporate spaces and entrepreneurship, a lot of people decide to chase strategy before identity. As Adiola rightly mentioned earlier, we need to, identify, we need to um, be clear on our purpose. Why are we here? What are we becoming? What do we really want to become? What is our identity? Without knowing our true identity, we really cannot define our values. So you find a lot of professionals, entrepreneurs try to like scale to ask if, oh, will this opportunity scale up? What will I get from this? Rather than understand their real self. So one thing we should know is that significance does not begin with opportunity, it actually begins with values. What are those things that we hold closely to ourselves? What are those things that matter most to us? When our values are unclear, every opportunity will look so attractive to us. You just grab on opportunities, you up on job opportunities, you take partnerships without actually trying to understand if they align or fit in with the kind of person you're becoming. I think I would like to share my experience as a young graduate at this point. So before venturing or before starting the HR career, I was actually a lecturer. So how did I start? I was going to after school, the question was usually, oh, what's next, right? And back then, at least in my own era, we had a lot of people say, oh, they want to go for their postgraduate after school. They want to go for their masters abroad and the likes. And myself also followed the crowd. I wanted to go for my postgraduate um, after school. I mean, after BSc. So I picked up a lot of. I applied for a lot of scholarships, and as part of the process, I needed a transcript. So I went back to my alma mater, um, and then went to my department and met the head of department as at that time. So we got talking, and then he just passively mentioned that, oh, the vice chancellor and the senate just approved that all best graduating students from each department can now have the opportunity to start a career in lecturing. So if you want to start in the academia sector, you could just you know, pick up the opportunity. So I ignored that because I mean that was not why I went to school. So I went to pick up my transcript. I wanted to further my studies. So I just picked up my transcript that day and left. Sadly, I was not chosen for that scholarship. I didn't scale through. So I was back to the drawing board, back to square one, back to that same question: what next? Rather than actually now sit down and bring out, try to understand my identity, try to understand my values, trying to understand the reason why I had studied HR in the first place. Because even back then, when human resource management was not really a thing, I already knew I wanted to practice. I was so passionate about making a difference in the workplace. So I studied HR. I didn't recall, I didn't go back to the reason why I studied. I was just all about grabbing something. I didn't want to stay idle. I didn't want to, just stay without doing anything. So remembered I remembered what my head of department mentioned while when I went back to school to pick up my transcript, and I was like, okay, that's good. I really do not need to stress this. There is really little competition that we have to face. I don't have to compete with anything. I mean, the opportunity is there on the platter of goods. So let me just pick up that opportunity. I think the fear of also competing in the labor market made me forget who I actually wanted to become. So I had to, went back to my school, and then I started lecturing. I started as a graduate assistant actually. And then the first year it was cool because I was still trying to understand, the nitty gritty of everything. And then I did my master's, and then I became an assistant lecturer. I started like that. 3 years went, and honestly, I felt empty. I've never, like, people say, oh, they feel that kind of way. That was my first time of actually feeling empty. I felt empty. I was productive, but I was not fulfilled. I felt like I was in the wrong space. Coupled with the environment, and the work culture, they were not aligned with who I am and what I actually want to become, right? So I was just like stuck. For almost 6 years, I was just there trying to figure out, maybe, I kept on giving myself that hope that, oh, I'm going to be better. Maybe I've not really understood my responsibilities. I've not really gotten the secret of that job. So I kept on trying. But after like 5 years, I felt like it's still the same thing. It was time for me to pick up the next step. I mean, do my PhD, because we all know that in academia, without your PhD, you are not an authority. And I just wanted to progress in my career, and I felt stuck. And then I now had to go back again to that same question. What do I want to do? And I think it was at that point I realized that I was in the wrong place. Very good, an opportunity to make impact like I always wanted to do. But then it was the wrong place for me. The work culture, everything was just wrong. I mean, it's really amazing to lecture to impact and change lives and all that, but that was not my purpose. That was not my calling. So I had to sit back, and then the fear of what I didn't want to go through at the start of at the start of my career, I had to go back, dusted my CV, restructured everything, started going for trainings, because now I only have theoretical, I only have theoretical knowledge of everything. I haven't practiced. And HR is more of practice. So it was time to transition. So I had to go back, start trainings, and I applied. I got this job, good enough for me, in quotes. I was employed to lead a group of, like, the HR team, a group of 3 people, right? There was pretty much nobody to look up to. People were looking up to me, and I didn't, in my mind, I doubted myself a lot because I didn't have that experience. I felt like I didn't have that experience. And I felt like maybe the recruiter had made a lot of error, you know, recruiting in for that role. So at that moment, I just really felt a lot of self doubt. So for corporate professionals and managers, we need to ask ourselves before we take up that opportunity. We need to ask ourselves before accepting that job offer. We need to ask ourselves, does this opportunity really align with who I am becoming? We need to also we need to know what matters most to us before we can answer that question. And for founders or entrepreneurs here, before you pivot your business model, you need to ask yourself, am I doing this out of fear, out of pressure, or out of purpose? You see, there are a lot of people that start businesses just because they need another source of income. I mean, we all know this general notion that you need multiple sources of incomes to actually live well in this economy. You need multiple sources of income to be wealthy, right? But because of that pressure, people venture into things that do not align with their purpose. They venture into businesses that don't even suit their becoming. So we need to align ourselves. And if we do not choose those values, do not make this driven decisions, we'll find out that we will find ourselves in situations like career misalignment, I found myself. Career misalignment is real. People I used to hear people talk about it, but when your values and the opportunity you've taken are not aligned, you're already misaligned. So you can find yourself in situations like um, career misalignment, inconsistent reputation, because who you really stand for and what you're doing are not the same. So people find it very difficult to rely on you to actually take you serious or to trust you. So you find yourself having that inconsistency. Also, you find yourself frustrated. You are burnt out. You're frustrated because, well, it's just like a square a square peg in a round hole. Like, that's a misfit. You struggle no matter how much you want to fit into that space. You see that you're struggling where you're supposed to thrive seamlessly. You see that you're just struggling, right? So you also find yourself, being delayed in a lot of things. Your growth is delayed because you're not doing what you're meant to do at that moment. But for us to choose values, we need to understand what actually matter most to us. I mean, everybody has a purpose in life. we all have those things that really matter to us. You need to sit back and understand what really matter most to me. What are those three top things that I think really matter? And then before you accept opportunities, ask yourself again, does this really align with who I am becoming? It's really important to ensure that we are in alignment with whatever actions we are taking at the moment and who we are becoming. And then you have to engage in regular self-evaluation. You know, it was I think it was it's self regular self-evaluation was one of the things that helped me to pick myself out of that situation. I was able to, you know, understand to ask myself if I actually had that sense of satisfaction or sense of fulfillment while I was in my previous job, And so we need to regularly do self-evaluation. Also, we should seek feedback from trusted people. These people could be mentors, senior colleagues, friends, and families. Just look for people that you could actually trust their judgment, people that will give you constructive feedbacks and not necessarily criticize you, because at that moment you do not need anyone to pull you down. You need people to give you constructive feedbacks that will help you grow. And then you have to be willing to walk away from what does not align. I'm so glad that I took that bold decision, because I before I had a lot of reservations before making that decision. I was like, oh, I'd spent 6 years, almost 6 years, at taking a lot of time. I've done this, I've gotten to this stage. If I start another career, it means I'm starting all over again. But it was not just working, and so I had to leave, right? And I would say it's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. So we need to have that willingness to walk away from what does not, no matter how long. You might have stayed there for 15 years, 20 years. It doesn't matter how long. What matters is that we call ourselves back and realign with our purpose. So um, significance is not built at the peak of our lives. It is built in those small, consistent decisions that we make, right? Long before we even get uh, long before the spotlight finds us, before we get there, all those consistent decisions that we are taking, that's when we are making significance. It's not when we reach the peak of our lives or the peak of our career or the peak of our businesses or our goals. That's not when we should wait to make significance. We can make that significance right now in real time and through our small, consistent decisions. Now, the second idea is for us to uh, build confidence intentionally. A lot of people think that confidence is a personality trait. No, it is not. It's a practice. Confidence is nobody's born confident, honestly. Yeah, there might be some psychological or some psychological trait that could help in building confidence, maybe like self-esteem. But the truth is that we are nobody is really born confident, right? And confidence should not be taken for boldness. People think, oh, once you're bold, you mean you're already confident. No, confidence is that it's that inner feeling we have about our capability, about our capacity, about what we are able to do. That feeling that we can do this thing. It's possible you can be bold, you might be able to face the crowd, you might be able to do this. But if your inner self is still telling you that you are not capable, then you lack confidence. So confidence is not the absence of fear, it's actually the action we take despite that fear. When I finally transitioned to HR, I remember leading a meeting. I was asked to coordinate our cross-functional meeting. That was my first time, right? Because I was coming from a separate world entirely. That was my first time of being called in a corporate world, right, or in the industry to lead a meeting. And then the usual thing is that you get departmental updates and then you make a presentation. So I had gotten my slides ready, everything was okay, my data were intact and all that. And we usually have that meeting every Monday. It was just few minutes to my presentation. It was just few minutes to my presentation, and I was really confused. I started asking myself, started doubting myself that what's I started doubting myself that so what do I need to do? What if I'm not as capable as what if I'm not as capable as they thought? What if they find out that I'm a recruitment error and all that? So I really doubted myself, and before the presentation, I already killed myself. So when I got to the meeting room, because usually the meeting was with our board senior management team and then the head of department. So it was really a big deal. When I got there, I found out that I've killed my confidence. I've killed everything. Even all the preparation I'd made were just really like nothing. So I got there, I just did what I could do, right? But thankfully, my managing director as at then was gracious enough to, give me constructive feedback, and I was able to, understand what I'd done wrong. And I actually took a learning from that experience. And that is the feeling I already had, even though I had prepared well, even though I had done the best I could do. But the feeling I had, that inner feeling I had before getting there, was what killed my performance, my presentation. So we need to build confidence intentionally. We need to uh, keep telling the inner self, our inner self, that we can do it. We need to build confidence through our actions. Confidence is not until you wait until it's not waiting until you feel ready. Is that action we take despite our feelings, or despite what we think that we can do at that moment. So our confidence grows when we speak up, even when our voice shakes. Um, our confidence grows when we do difficult things even before we feel fully ready. We need to choose courage over comfort repeatedly, because no one actually ever makes success. No one ever actually succeeds in their comfort zone. You have to come out of that comfort zone. You have to come out and make make the meaningful impact. So when we lack confidence, we we can miss opportunities. We find ourselves losing opportunities. Why? Because we're having that feeling that we are not able to, we don't have that capacity, we don't have enough skills, we don't have enough ability to do that thing. So we just let opportunities go without actually finding, without actually taking up the opportunity and discovering ourselves. We also we be overly dependent on validation. When we lack confidence, we want our validation to be on the external things rather than our inner beliefs. I mentioned earlier that confidence starts from that inner belief that we have, right? It starts from that uh, inner belief that we can do something, that we are able and we are capable of doing something. So it's not just about the outward appearance, our performance. It starts from our inner self. If we have not worked on our inner belief, then our outward appearance or outward performance is going to be affected. Also, lack of confidence can lead to stagnant career growth. You just find yourself just being there. You don't want to grab opportunities, you don't want to take up challenging roles, you don't want to take up challenges because You just feel like, oh, will I be able to do that? You know, what if I fail? You continue to have that doubt, that feeling that what if you fail? What if you fail? And then you keep asking yourself, what if? And then the time is just passing by, and then you're not able to even discover yourself. And lastly, one significant outcome of lack of confidence is imposter syndrome. Um, I don't know for anyone here, but for me, I suffered that a lot when I transitioned. Imposter syndrome, you start second guessing yourself. I started like, I didn't have this experience. How come they recruited me? I didn't, until I sat down and told myself there must have been something they found out when I was going through the recruitment process. There must have been something that they found in me. I needed to give myself that assurance before I could even forge ahead. Yes, I'm a work in progress, everyone is, but we just need to let ourselves loose from that imposter syndrome by just taking up little action. So we can build confidence by taking little courageous steps daily, right? No matter how little we think they are, like speaking up in meetings, volunteering for responsibilities, sharing our ideas, regardless of what we think they are. By the time you start thinking in your head that, oh, I don't think I'm smart enough, I don't think this idea will be brilliant, and you keep that to yourself, you won't even understand how how capable you are. You won't understand how grounded you are in certain things. You won't know how knowledgeable you are until you share those ideas, right? So we also need to build competence deliberately if we want to build confidence. Confidence and competence, they go hand in hand, because confidence is coming from that feeling that you're capable of doing something. So we need to build competence significantly, like deliberately. We need to build our skills. We need to, if we are professionals here, continue upskilling, continue taking up that certification, continue going for that training. If we are founders or entrepreneurs here, then we need to also build our skills. We can go to business schools for trainings. We need to keep building our skills, improving our skills, and also our knowledge. Our knowledge bank has to be full before we can actually feel confident, because there's something knowledge does to you psychologically. Once you know something, once you're aware that you know something, no matter how little it is, at least you have that boldness or that confidence to speak up, to even share something. Maybe they're discussing in this subject matter, because you have knowledge in that aspect, you will be able to speak up, you'll be able to um, you know um, give up your give bring in your ideas, because you already have. So we need to build competence deliberately. We need to also work on ourselves. Confidence will not work up to us. We need to take that conscious action. And lastly, for us to build confidence, we need to treat our mistakes or failures as learning experiences. It is normal to make mistakes, it is normal to fail. you know don't be scared to make those mistakes. I used to be in that shackles before. I used to honestly want to be perfect. And one thing with perfectionism is that it never builds confidence, because you will always want to be waiting for the perfect moment to do things, the perfect way to do things. And honestly, if you continue like that, you will never even build confidence at all. Because one of those killing um, aspects of one of those things that can kill your confidence is perfectionism. So don't wait for that perfect time. Just have the mindset that mistakes are normal. So when you make those mistakes, take them as your learning, take them as your learning experiences, take them as a learning curve, right? And then try to work on those areas where you've made mistake. And then those areas you think you failed. Honestly, most times we our output or our outcome or our mistakes are not even as bad as we think they are until you hear from other people and they'll be like, oh, I have no idea what you're talking about. They say, oh, I failed at one presentation, or oh, my business has really failed. People will even really now applaud you from they will applaud you for taking that step. You find out most times people will be like, oh, for you to have even taken those steps, I think you've done so well. They will give you that pat on the back. You've done so well. So most times the outcome of what we think is failure is actually not as bad as we think they are. So we need to give ourselves graces. Let's take our mistakes and failures as learning experiences. And also, let's know that confidence is not built by waiting, right? It is built by acting. So let's start acting. Let's start that action. Let's start taking that action right now. The last idea I would like to share is pursue meaningful impact without waiting for perfect clarity. We live in a world that celebrates certainty. People will ask you, what's your 5 year plan? What's your 10-year plan? What's your career roadmap? What's your destiny pathway? But the truth is that most of us are figuring it out as we go, and that is fine. It is okay not to have our life figured out at 28. It is okay to still be pivoting industries at 40. It is even okay for us to redefine success at 50. And that is not failure, it is actually growth. The fact that we are not seated in one space, we are not on one spot rather, we are trying to become a better version of ourselves is growth. So no matter how long you think it has taken for you to build that significance, for you to create that value, for you to make that impact, it's not, it doesn't matter. What matters is your mindset, right? The mindset, that growth mindset. So when you waiting for perfect clarity before pursuing impact can lead to procrastination disguised as preparation. You spend excessive time getting ready without ever starting. There is a way procrastination just really deceives us, like it's disguises as preparation. You keep saying, oh, I want the perfect time, and this also goes to perfectionists, like people that want to wait for the perfect time. There is no perfect time. The perfect time is right now, like instantly. That's the perfect time to start whatever it is, whatever vision, whatever plans you have. So you see people they are spending excessive time. They've created like a vision board, and then it's taking them maybe 3 years, 4 years to prepare. And then before you know it, they would have lost momentum within those years of preparation and they will never start. So when you waiting for perfect clarity before pursuing impact can lead to procrastination disguised as preparation. So we should just start regardless, just start. Do not wait for perfect time. Also, it can lead to missed opportunity. One thing that has been constant in all the ideas is this missed opportunity, and that's what happened when we are trying to wait for a perfect time before creating meaning or before building significance. That's what happens. You will keep missing opportunities because you say, oh, you see this one, you say, oh, I don't think I have enough capacity to do this. I don't think I have this. I don't think I have that. And then you just miss opportunities like that, right? So we should also note that opportunities often reward action and not perfection. So that's notion of trying to look for a perfect time or trying to wait for the perfect opportunity or the perfect time is not going to build significance for us. And then when we try to wait for clarity before making meaning or creating impact, we also find ourselves stagnated and doubt ourselves. So stagnation and self-doubt is also an outcome of waiting for clarity until we take actions. We should know that inaction feeds uncertainty So the longer you wait, the harder it actually becomes to move. It also reduces our confidence because, I've said earlier that confidence is that inner feeling you have that you're able to do something. But when you're trying to seek clarity, you're trying to wait for that perfect time, or you're trying to wait for perfect clarity before you start something, you see that you are, your confidence will be reducing because you've not really taken action, you've not started. And lastly, you have unrealized potential. You know, I will use my experience as an illustration again. I never knew that at least I would do well in HR because I was still stuck in my previous career. So the moment I started, yes, I had made a lot of mistakes. I'm still growing, still making that mistake, still failing, but it's good because it's part of the process. So when you do not take those actions, you see that there are some potentials that you've not even discovered. Your potentials, even the fact that you've not discovered them means that you cannot even develop them because your execution is on hold, right? You won't know how good you are at a skill. You won't know how good you are in your profession until you've taken that bold step. So, but on the other hand, we can take the following actions to build impact even when we feel there is no clarity. The first thing is that we should act on the clarity we currently have, right? There's always that current clarity. There's always that current clarity. Um, and then let's understand that we just need the next step. It's not about knowing your destination. It's about knowing your next step. It's about the direction, right? So act on the clarity you currently have. Start more small, but start regardless. Just start, just take those baby steps. And starting small does not mean you compromise with excellence. Let's take note that excellence is one of the keys to success. So the fact that we are starting small doesn't mean that we should lower the quality of whatever we are doing. We should know that starting small means we are utilizing the little resources that we have, but we are still keen on doing it the right way, in an excellent way, right? And then we should adopt this on the go progress mindset. Progress is a continuous process. So we need to know at some point when you start taking actions towards a goal, it might not really make sense to you, right? But by the time you now see the aggregate of all those actions you've taken in the long run, you will see that you've moved, further than where you were. So we need to adopt that on the go progress mindset. Also, we need to set short evaluation period, right? I know a lot of people have made their vision board for the year. You might have, you know, listed your goals for the year, and then of course the action plans that you need to make to reach those goals. But the question is, did you set evaluation period for all those goals and visions? Have you set the evaluation period, your evaluation period, and what's the period like? Is it quarterly? Is it monthly? So it's important that we set evaluation period. This will make us to retrospect, like to actually understand if we are still acting in the right path, if we are still if our action is still aligned with our goals and vision. So we should set short evaluation period and define clarity as direction, not certainty. I mentioned earlier, direction is better than getting clarity on your direction is better than knowing your destination. So let's define clarity as direction. Direction is direction with what we have now. I mean, like what's where, like this is the destination, but how do I get there? You know, it is not just about having an idea of where we are going to. We need to, what is more important is actually getting the direction. If you have an idea of where you're going to and there is no direction, you are not moving anywhere. You'll be on the spot, on the spot, right? So we need to treat or define clarity as direction and not certainty, because there's really nothing certain in this world. It's a volatile world and a lot of things, there are a lot of uncertainties everywhere. So we need to define our clarity as direction and not certainty. Let me leave you with a simple framework you can apply immediately in choosing meaning while still becoming. Align, secondly, act, and adjust. Alignment gives direction. So you have to clarify your top three values, personal values. Ask yourself, what are those top three values? It will help you to streamline your purpose, to help you to understand who you're becoming. Action builds confidence. So take one courageous step this month or this year that stretches you. We need to stretch ourselves. We need to come out of that comfort zone. And adjustment sustains growth. So reflect and refine without self-judgment. Don't judge yourself. Give yourself that grace. Give yourself that grace. Understand that mistakes and failures are normal. Understand that you need to make mistakes as humans. You need to make mistakes. Give yourself that grace, and then try to you know take those mistakes as make those mistakes as learning experiences. In conclusion, every person in this room is in transition. Some of us are climbing, some of us are rebuilding, some are starting over, some are expanding into new levels. But the fact is that none of us are finished products. And honestly, that is the beauty of life. So you do not have to wait until you've arrived to be significant. You do not have to wait until you are fully certain to act with purpose. You do not have to wait until you're perfect to create impact. Build significance in real time and choose meaning now. Lead while becoming, because the world does not just need successful people, it needs intentional ones. Thank you so much for listening.
Oh, wow. Please let's just give a resounding applause. Oh my God. It's how you are so gentle, yet you were just dropping such truth bombs, such very weighty bombs. Thank you so much. Thank you so, so
Thank
much
you.
for
Thank
that
you for the
sharing.
kind words.
Like, and I really want to highlight three very specific things that stood out for me, right? And the first one is not to be afraid, right? To pivot. Like, okay, identifying that I'm here now and I need to pivot, not being afraid to start over, right? The second thing is that significance is a journey that is shaped a lot with courage, right? Confidence and your choices, right? And the third thing that, really stood out for me is action, action, action. And I like what you said, that stop waiting, like clarity, you emphasize clarity in motion, right? Like just act on what you currently know now. And as you continue to proceed, you have new layers of light open up. It sort of reminds me of, I don't know if I'm aging myself by giving this example right now. The Wizard of Oz, if you ever saw it as a child growing up, where the yellow brick road kept opening up as she went along the path, right? So yeah, these were very critical things that she said, and I like how you ended. The world doesn't just need successful people, but intentional ones. Thank you so much, Madam
Thank you for
Folashai.
having me.
Thank you so, so much. Thank you. Please let's give her a resounding applause again. And we have dropped her LinkedIn um link or profile link in the chat on YouTube. Please just connect with her, reach out, and do amazing work with her as well. Thank you so much, Madam. And to lead us beautifully into another perspective on, the pursuit of significance is our next speaker, who is going to be speaking on the power of example, modeling significance at work and at home as a man, right? And in this session, you're going to learn how how a man's everyday behaviors, values, and leadership choices at home and at work influence others and help them to contribute, to lasting significance. So I would spotlight our next speaker who is going to contribute that valuable. Sorry, I can't see it. Okay, I see you now. Okay, yeah. Who is going to contribute his valuable insights to this session and to take us on that journey. Before he goes ahead, I'm just going to read out his bio so you know who is speaking. Mr. Osage Alegimelen occupies the role of Senior Service Manager, Sub-Saharan Africa for Cordant Solutions, which is a Baker Hughes company. In this role, Mr. Sage focuses on partnering with customers and sales teams to drive services growth strategies, services offering introduction and evolution, as well as improving operational efficiency and process optimization while handling the Sub-Saharan Africa portfolio. Osage has worked in oil and gas, power and renewable energy industries, having worked in General Electric, Solar Turbines, and Siemens, with a strong emphasis on aftermarket services. Osage began his career as a field service engineer for a major oil field in the food and beverage packaging industry. Osage holds a first degree in engineering and 2 postgraduate degrees, an MBA and a degree in operations and supply chain management. And so I want us to please join me to welcome Osage to share his perspective on what it truly means to live a life that matters as a man, modeling the pursuit of significance. Let's give a resounding applause to him. Welcome, Osage.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Can you all see my screen? I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just start by asking a question. Do we all know who's called Ivara Esege? If I ask many people this question, I'm sure the answer will be, who is that? Because many people may not know him. He's a
We know
medical
him.
doctor. Sorry?
We know him, please.
Oh.
Very intense audience.
Okay. I didn't get that. You know him, right?
Yes, of course we know him.
Okay. Yes, but you know him, many people know him majorly as being Chimamanda's husband, more than his own personal career. Why is that? That's majorly because, his wife has a career that is very out there. And, while he has supported her, he may not be the one that has been out there. But then their relationship blossomed right from even before she became popular. I'm giving that example because she's a woman who has had a blossoming career, and her husband has been very supportive of her. I'm using this introduction to start this conversation on the power of example and how men can model significance at work and at home. So good afternoon once again. My name is Osage Alegimelen, and today we'll explore a truth that has shaped my life as a man and a leader, a husband and a father. And that truth is that men model significance, not through titles, but through their example. I'm speaking to you as a male executive, but also as a man raised by a woman whose strength and quiet leadership shaped everything I understand today. And that understanding has built my sense of responsibility and integrity. And you wonder, why am I bringing this perspective, right? Because we're talking about how men can influence and help women model their significance, both at home and at work. I'm talking about this because most of what I know today is a function of what I learned at home. I remember a story when I was a graduate trainee as a field engineer, and there was an issue from finance that they sent a mail to me about. And, the way it was, a lot of field engineers are not the type that, write beautiful mails and all that. We go to the field, we solve the problems on the field, come back, do our reports. The best we do with writing is do our reports. So there was a mail sent to me asking about some financial analyses. And I went back, sat down on my table, and I sent a response that was not just comprehensive, but well put together. In fact, the finance manager didn't respond to my mail. She came to meet me and asked me, "How did you put that together? I thought engineers don't like to do this." I just smiled and said, "Well, I know how to do this, so I can do this." And this was the beginning of how, even being a field engineer, many of my colleagues came to me many times when they needed to put their reports together, even for more senior people than me, when they needed to put anything together, had to do with a write-up or anything like that. They came to me for assistance. This was made possible because I grew up in an environment where I learned from home how to compose mails and compose letters in the office, because I grew up with an administrator who was vast in these things, but then didn't keep work just at work, but exposed me to these things even when I was growing up at home. So I can remember times when I would be in the house, and there'll be conversations about strategy development at work, because once in a while those conversations took place. And when we're growing up, usually they will tell children to go inside when adults want to converse, but with me it was different. The case was that, oh, okay, just to ensure you don't interrupt adult conversations. But my mom always ensured that I was around the vicinity and I was there, such that by the time I was in my senior secondary years, we were discussing work strategy, right? Something happened at work. Actually, we'll share with me, guys. Can you imagine this happened? And we'll have that conversation. And that was very, very instrumental in developing my idea around strategy, my idea around being able to respond corporately and understanding the corporate world. That exposure I can never forget. Now, talking about that, I will go to the foundation of my conversation, which is about quiet strength. Raised by a woman of quiet strength, I grew up watching my mother carry more than her share of life's weight, right? She didn't have a corner office on Wall Street, but she maintained leadership both at work and at home. And what that meant for me was that my leadership wasn't learned in the boardroom, it was shaped at home. And reminds us that significance isn't about being impressive, it's about being consistent. I learned consistency. Even when things seemed like they were challenging, there was consistency at work and at home. Consistency in ensuring that I completed my assignments, consistency in ensuring that I stayed reading and waking up at night to read when I was in primary 4. Now you will say, oh, they will wake you up to read. No, my mom used to wake me up to read and read with me. So whether it was science, it was art, it was literature, it was physics, it was maths, we used to solve maths problems together till late at night. And it was fun just having that experience. Now, we also know that influence is not earned through daily integrity. Sorry, influence is earned through daily integrity, not granted by a title. So it's not by a function of a title. I'm using the example of her being a woman to say that even in a home, whether it's a man or a woman, the influence that you have over your family and with your children can determine a lot about the choices they make and what they do with their future. Now, in terms of thoughts, according to Albert Schweitzer, he says, example is not the primary thing in influencing others. It is the only thing. I will take this glass of water and take a sip. Now, no one can tell me whether, okay, well, I already said it was water, but no one can tell me whether it was really water, it was gin, or it was Sprite, because only I can feel the taste. As much as you see what I drank and see a clear liquid, I who experienced it, I'm the one who can tell you what I experienced. Was it sweet? Was it bitter? Or was it tasteless? And that's why Ralph Waldo says, what you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. The things you do are the things that people remember. There's a saying that says, people do not remember what you said to them. They remember how you made them feel. And that's significant with what people do in the home. Now we'll speak about the impact, right? The ripple effect. We know that culture isn't a policy, it's the sum of our behaviors. Every single thing we do molds our culture. Some people have asked, what is culture? So an American and to a Nigerian, culture may be a different thing. But one of the things that all homes in the world and all religions in the world teach is truth and integrity. Excuse me. As much as in some cultures, you can say you kneel down to greet, you bow to greet, and in some others, you just greet respectfully without making any physical gestures. It doesn't remove the significance of respect, and that is where culture molds who we are. Work and home are two sides of the same coin. What you learn at home is what you carry at work. You find someone at work, you enter an office, and this happens very often, and people just walk in, they don't greet anyone, and they just go straight into what they want. That is not learned at work, that's learned at home. The truth is that what we internalize as children is what we externalize as leaders. Every single person that you see as a leader today, a good leader or a bad leader, as we know, people speak and complain about leadership in the nation, in the government, at work, or society in general, is a function of what was internalized as children. It's a function of the values that they learned as children that made them develop to be the kind of leaders that they are today. Now, speaking about the vision, just move this here. We realize that significance is a pattern, not a moment. And today, we're going to be talking about this significance of how you can influence at home and at work on three pillars. The three pillars are behavior, values, and choice. If there's anything that I would like you to take away from the presentation and the conversation today, is the fact that there are three pillars. The behavior is key, your values are important, and the choices you make are important. Now, I will give you a little bit of a scenario. I had a conversation with my daughter, and I picked her up from school. After I asked her how was school, and she told me about school, she asked me how work was. And I told her it was good. She asked me, did you have many meetings? Because she used to see me in meetings, so she already understands my work culture. So I was surprised when she asked me about my colleagues and she mentioned names. She gave 4 different names of my colleagues. I was like, oh, wow. So you know who those people are? She says, yes, I always hear you talk to or about those people, right? Now, why will she be able to do that? The reason why she's able to do that is because I talk about what I do to her. She's little, she's 5, but she already understands what I do to a level. I understands who I work with. She understands that I have someone that I report to. But she's 5. That is building culture. That's the influence that men have in a home. If you think about it, if she needs to talk about work or she grows up further and understands better, even before being in the workplace, she already understands work dynamics. And that's why it's important for men to build the behavior, what they do when they're off camera, what they do when they're not being watched, what they do when no one is looking at them. Very key and very important. Conversation matters, and people feel the impact of male behavior more acutely, both professionally and at home. Also, the values, which is what you stand for, when it costs you. I have made some decisions in life that have nothing to do with what was most important to me, but because of the values I had, I made those choices. I remember a time where I wanted to change career, and there was an opportunity. I was still a field engineer. There was an opportunity for a project manager, and I was going to apply for it. But I had a friend and a colleague who had just got married. And as a field engineer, we were traveling a lot. So we're never at home. He had just gotten married, and his wife had barely seen him for the first 6 months. And he told me he was interested in the role. As much as it's a life decision, I made a decision not to apply for the role. I didn't say because, I want the role too. I was still single, and this is where I want my career path. I thought about it because of the values that I understood from marriage, that it was good for the man to be available at home. I made the sacrifice to allow him apply because they wanted an internal person, and there were just two people. So I pulled out from it, and he became the project manager. He may not have known those details because I didn't bother to share with him, but that was the reason why I did that. And that was because of the values I had built. And that leads me to the function or to the part about choice, the pillar of choice. I made the choice, and this choice was a function of the values that I had developed. And that's why I behaved the way I behaved to make the choice. Going deeper with pillar one, it says behavior is the integrity test. What you do in the dark, what you do when no one is watching. Reliability is the true currency of leadership. It's important to be reliable. At home, if you know, for instance, that when you are doing work as a woman, you get the support of your husband, gives you confidence to be able to do that job. I'll give you an example. My wife, for instance, has a job that she does that she needs to do over the weekends, on Fridays specifically, in the evening. And if I'm not available there to support and take care of the house, she won't be able to sit in front of her computer and have a 3-hour session with anyone. But because she knows I am there, she doesn't even need to think about it. She went ahead to go for it. And that is building her and building her career. Something else I want to also talk about is communication. Well, here we talk about listening is a superpower. Many times when we talk about listening, when we talk about communication, people refer to how we speak, our physical gesticulations. But you see, one of the most powerful elements of communication is listening. Because if you're communicating with someone and the person has spoken and you didn't listen to what the person said, your response may not be able to answer the question in the best way, because listening is really important. When you listen, it doesn't show weakness, it just shows your strength. So it's important in our behaviors to show that we listen. The importance of listening is that we're able to understand what our spouse needs and able to offer assistance and help in the areas of need. You see, men model significance by the small repeated actions that build trust. And this is very important with their behaviors. Helping in the house. In today's world, I was surprised at a research by McKinsey that said that about 30% of Gen Zs believe that they should be obeyed by their wives at home, which is different from baby boomers, where about 18% had that same belief. What that shows to us is that today, many men believe that their word should count. But you see, like they say, respect is earned. So if you want to earn respect, if you want to let your voice be the voice that matters, you need to earn it. The Holy Book talks about leadership as being servant leadership. The example of leading by sacrificing is the greatest example of leadership that we can actually refer to. Now, part of obedience is the power of consistency, right? We're putting the spotlight on consistency. Small things aren't small to the people watching you. Every single thing matters. Consistency creates safety, and inconsistency creates labor. When your spouse knows that you are consistently available, that the decisions you make will be decisions that allow them to be who they are, then they have confidence to be able to be who they need to be, both at home and at work. I've been to some offices before, and I remember when I was in university, we were trying to do clearance, I think when we graduated, and we got to the office of a woman who seemed very difficult. She was shouting at everyone. She was generally angry. And one person made a comment and says, the reason why she's angry at work here is because she's being oppressed at home, and this is the only avenue by which she can express herself. And when you think about it, it probably happens to people. Because of the experiences at home, they're not able to function properly at work, or they function in a way that's destructive to their own career or to their colleagues. Think about a woman who doesn't get support at home and is tired from all the work she has to do at home and comes to work sleeping. She's not going to be able to function because she's tired. See, every interaction is a brick in the wall of trust. If you don't interact with positivity, then you can actually have a dent on trust. Now, if we speak from pillar 2, we speak about values. It's a deep roots. Values are deep roots. When we talk about values, we talk about culture. The values of thinking about integrity, advocacy, and family. Integrity over convenience should be practiced every single time. And when we talk about integrity, it's not just showing integrity at work. Showing integrity at home is how you learn and practice integrity. I know a woman, for instance, that she doesn't work with her husband, but she says if they say X or Y or Z about my husband and says, oh, he told lies or he did this, I won't believe it. But they told me that he did something to favor his friend, that, oh yes, I know he will do that. The reason why she's able to say that is because she knows him and she knows what he can do at home. There's no reason for you to be a different person at work and at home. It's in the man who keeps his word even when it's inconvenient. It's in the leader who listens without defensiveness. There's no reason to have conversations about things to do at home, and it's all about a defensive conversation. A family is the closest knit relationship any human being should have. So if you're able to maintain a healthy relationship at home, it makes you better at work and able to build relationships at work. Advocacy is another important attribute of the second pillar of values. See, advocacy is an active choice, not passive silence. I know homes when growing up where the women made all the decisions and did every single thing at home. And the man was very passive, didn't contribute to taking care of children. All he felt he needed to do was to provide money and, allow every expense to be on him. But then you realize that his silence at home meant that as the children grew up, they had less respect for him and they more or less abandoned him when they became a lot older because they didn't realize that their father was part of their life. They just only knew him as that man that comes in and goes. Advocacy is not just only speaking up when it matters, it's ensuring that you're not passive and you're not silent in constructive disciplining of your children, in impacting knowledge. It's not the responsibility of a woman to do homework with children. In today's world where men and women work, it's expected to be normal for people to share responsibilities. All right. Some people will say it's a woman's responsibility to cook, it's a woman's responsibility to clean, while the man provides. But at the end of the day, we are all human beings and we all have needs and we all have a job. So it's important for us to have conversations and take advantage of the areas where we have strength. If, for instance, I'm good in science and my spouse is good in arts, excuse me, and we need to teach our children. She teaches the science subjects and she teaches the art subjects where we have our strengths. There's no need to say it's one person's responsibility to teach everything and then you struggle. That's where working together becomes important. Realize that family isn't a distraction, it is the foundation. So when you build resilience, build advocacy and integrity at home, you're building the foundation for better human beings. The foundation that was built for me is the foundation that I have used in my life and my career today. The third pillar is choices. I'm showing these three pictures as three different scenarios. On your left, you can see a woman that's working from home. At the center, you can see, the scenario where the man is the one working and the woman is the one supporting. But the one on the right shows that the man is helping with the child while she's working. If I should ask, which is the common scenario that we see in homes today, many people will likely say it's the one at the center. But the truth about it is, where people make choices to understand how to help each other, then any of these three choices, any of these three situations is possible in homes. We realize that choices are the architecture of culture because the choices you make define you. Who you champion defines organizational culture. If you decide to make choices that grow your career and neglect your family, you realize that you would have built a family structure where the children that are produced from that family are not able to build exactly the same kind of values that you had when you were growing up and used when you were working. If you realize, you'll see that this matters to a lot of people, how you speak about them. How you speak about family reflects your true character. And then boundaries aren't walls, they are signs of strength. When you make a choice, for instance, to wash the dishes because your wife is pregnant, when you make a choice to change the diapers because your wife is cooking, those are the little things that you do that matter to a woman. When you choose, for instance, to stay at home where you could have been hanging out with friends, watching Champions League on a Thursday evening or a Wednesday evening, that's a choice that speaks louder than words. When you had a choice to choose a career that would make you travel all over the world alone, and you take an option to take a career that will make you more at home, is a choice that you've made that speaks louder than words. It's a choice that a man can make that brings his family the strength and support that's needed. You see, one of the fundamentals of choices is the fact that choices are made from proper analysis of what is most important. Every single time you have a reason to make a choice, you determine what's important. And when you make a choice, you speak about what's important. If you choose your career over your family, you've spoken. If you choose your family over your career, you've spoken. Without using words, your actions have spoken. You see, values become visible when they require sacrifice. I've had moments in my career, for instance, where choosing integrity meant walking away from opportunities, like the example I gave before. Moments where advocating for fairness slowed progress. Moments where protecting someone's dignity meant challenging a peer. These decisions were not always easy, but they were necessary because values are not statements on walls. Choices are decisions under pressure. Now, in our conversation, we spoke about the fact that while we have these three pillars of value, choices, and behavior, is a function of building it from home and extending it to work. The origin is the home, where it all starts. Real leadership starts from sharing the mental load. When I spoke about sharing the mental load, I spoke about helping at home for men. It wasn't just a cliche, it's a reality. Being available, not just physically, but emotionally. So because I spoke about the fact that a man, for instance, chooses being at home to going to watch Champions League with friends, he says he's at home. He puts on the TV, crosses his leg. He's not interacting with anyone. He's just focused on the game. He's physically there, which is a step in the right direction. But the next step is being emotionally there. Are you part of the conversation? It's in showing children what respect looks like. The way you treat your spouse, your wife, is how your children see. And that's what they know. How you treat their mother is important to them and makes a difference about their perspective of life. My children will not remember my job titles. They remember how I treated their mother. They remember whether I was present. They remember the example I set. That's why it begins at home. Real leadership begins at home. When people speak about leadership, I like them to speak about how they have started to lead at home. Anyone who is successful with leading at home, most times is successful with being able to lead at the workplace. If you now take it to the workplace, which is the multiplier, whatever you're able to do at home, you're able to multiply and cascade at work. You can amplify voices that are ignored or silenced, challenge biases in the moments no one else sees, and you're able to do this. For instance, I'll give an example. Some of the perspectives I've been able to come up with at work, especially with relating with colleagues, especially colleagues of the opposite gender, have been formed from my relationships at home. I understand, for instance, people will say that, women think emotionally and men think in tasks, right? As much as you can say it, which is a general statement, may not be true with everyone. But if you don't have practice of those scenarios to be able to understand it, you may not be able to make the best of it. I've worked with women as being my managers, and some of those experiences have been the better experiences of my career. Because I grew up, remember I spoke about how I grew up with a woman. I grew up with a woman as the one managing the home. So I understood what it is when they communicate in a certain way. That's helped how I've been able to interact with colleagues, whether male or female. You see, when you lead with accountability, it is not just about you being accountable. It's about raw authority. When you're able to cascade the accountability you've developed at home, you also show that same accountability at work. For instance, I remember before I got married, one of the things that my wife would say endeared our relationship and made it a lot stronger was how I was very accountable with what I was doing. I would tell her, this is where I'm going to, this is what I'm doing, this is how long I'll be there, this is who I'm with. The information wasn't necessary. She didn't need all of that information. But what did it do? It gave confidence. It made her confident knowing what I could do, what I was doing. She knew that she could understand me better because I gave accountability with my whereabouts and what I was doing all the time. I realized that accountability also surfaced at work. I remember a time where I had a manager who needed to approve some expenses, and I lost the receipts. And I had heard, some of my colleagues talk about the fact that, oh, losing a receipt was a big deal and all that. So I explained to him I lost the receipt and that I wasn't going to try and manufacture a receipt because, I lost the receipt. So what did he think I should do? And he told me, oh, it was fine, that he understands that he's dealt with me so many times and realizes that I deal with accountability. I always let him know what I'm doing. And I realized that practice from home, that I was practicing at work also, made a difference. And that brought about true leadership that he could see. Now, in reflecting, we talk about the integrated life, home and work. Who you are at work shouldn't be different from who you are at home. I don't quite understand it when some men are tyrants at home and are very quiet in the office. The expectation is that a happy man should be happy at home and at work. A happy woman should be happy at home and at work. Women love and respect people or men, their husbands, who show the same kind of enthusiasm with their family and their life that they show with work. It makes them feel respected and appreciated. And when a woman feels respected and appreciated, she reciprocates that kind of appreciation and respect in the family. Some of the women who have come out to be the most successful women today are women who have gotten support from their husbands, from their fathers, and from the men in their lives. One of the important things I will recall from my growing up is, while I didn't grow up directly having my father in my day-to-day life, one of the things my mom did was to expose me to male figures that made an important impact in my life. That included people like my granddad, who was actually the person who made the most impact in her life, including choosing her career, helping her mold her career, and things like that. And I referred to him regularly and was able to gather a lot of knowledge and wisdom from him. That made a difference to who I was. Significance is integrated, is not compartmentalized, right? You cannot compartmentalize significance. You cannot say, this is what I will be at home, this is what I will be in the office. It has to be done across board. The man who is patient at home becomes patient at work. The man who is respectful at work reinforces respect at home. The man who is emotionally absent in one space eventually becomes absent in the other. The dual impact of work and home cannot be overemphasized, and they are not separate worlds. Alexandria, please let me know how I'm doing with time. I realize I don't know how many minutes I have left. Can you just let me know?
Yeah, you have 5 minutes left.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'll try and run through it quickly. We speak about what women wish men knew. Your silence in the face of bias is an active choice. We spoke about choices. Every single time a man is silent at home, is inconsistency, and it has a very heavy emotional price tag. Partnership over performance is very important. We should realize that we're not at home to perform. It's not a show. It's not a football game. It's partnership. The framework and what I want you to take out from this is that while we speak about behavior, value, and choices, it's very important for us to take these 5 action plans today. One is our presence. As men, it's important that we are fully there, always and with consistency. The second thing we should take as an action plan is to work with purpose, lead by conviction. Deliberate activities. The actions we take should be deliberate. Women love men that are deliberate. If you hear women talk about even people that propose to them, say, I love my husband because he was deliberate. He's deliberate. Another important thing is partnership. You see, one of the things that I love about my relationship with my wife is the fact that we're able to discuss and leverage on each other's strength. It's not a function of this is a man's responsibility, this is a woman's responsibility. I remember in my dating life, when I met someone that told me it's a man's responsibility to pick up his children and drop them in school every day because that's what my daddy did. I understand that that is, what she experienced, and that was the value that was brought up for her. And she says, if we're ever going to be in a relationship and get married, that's what I'm expected to do. But it doesn't work that way. It works so that when I'm available, I can do what I need to do. When she's available, she does what she needs to do. So we discuss it and we plan what works best for the family each time. Another action plan is protection. Men should ensure that they are available to protect their wife and their family all the time. A woman, and protection is not about being physically strong. It's just about knowing that someone is going to have your back all the time. The confidence that you have when you know that someone has your back all the time is unparalleled. I'll use an example from the Bible. Think about David facing Goliath. It wasn't about what he saw in front of him, it was the backing he had. Another thing I will speak about pattern. The fact that, for instance, I was able to regularly tell my wife, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going to. That pattern she got used to. And you should be able to keep with the pattern so that you can be recognized at work and everywhere. In fact, I have friends that their spouses will tell their husband that, see, Osaje will tell you where he is all the time. And I laugh when they say it, but it's the reality. And I have great friends that do the same thing as well. So the great framework I would ask for us today for an action plan is to be present, live with purpose, form a partnership with your spouse. That's the best partnership you can have before work. Be protective. And that protection is mutual. Women also protect your husbands. It's not just a male thing. And then a pattern of responsibility and integrity is very important. Now, the final example is my mom's example shaped the leader I strive to be today. Consistency is the ultimate competitive advantage. And I'll give a quote from the Bible from Proverbs 27:17. I'm using the TPT version. It says, it takes a grinding wheel to sharpen a blade. And so one person sharpens the character of another. So as a man, your aim is to sharpen your wife to help her become sharper. And you'll see as you sharpen her, you also become sharper. And the final word I will leave with you today is that we co-create significance. While men are expected to be significant, we co-create it. Your expectations set the standard. Your courage inspires the next generation. Thank you.
Oh
Thank
my,
you.
thank you so Where do we even go from here, right? Thank you so much, Mr. Sage. Thank you so, so much. Like
Thank you.
that framework for men, like the framework for men and significance, that I don't know, that's just so mind-blowing. And I also want to thank you for consistently highlighting your mom, especially because it's International Women's Day. I'm just like, clock it,
Yes.
mama. Thank you so much to her for being such a strong, powerful woman who's raised such a force. I was so grateful to her. Right. And I love how you consistently highlighted that significance is by example, significance is a pattern, and that you must first lead at home before you can lead. Like it begins at home and then you scale it in the workplace or in every other context, right? And the final point of co-creating significance, like I wasn't expecting that. So thank you so much again, Osagi, for your very resounding and very enlightening session. Thank you so much. And thank you for giving us a framework for men, right? On, being co-creators of significance. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty, I think it's time to move on to the panel session with our convener, Adeola Babatunde. And we will be having Mr. Osage and Mrs. Folashayo in this panel session. Yeah, it's time to spotlight everyone. I'm sorry. Can you spotlight Mrs. Folashayo, please? I can't see.
Yes, I'm not seeing her video. Hi, Folashayo, are you back with us? Okay, so Alexandra, could you just please check up on her? Just call her manually. Yeah, just call her. Oh, yeah, she's here. She's right here. Thank you. All right. So first of all, I am so excited already. I know it's almost noon, but I'm super excited. We still have two amazing speakers, but I quickly want to jump into this, what is it called? Into this panel session where I'm going to be asking some questions. I'm super proud of both of you so far for the presentation, and I'll be asking some questions so far. All right, so Folashayo, let's start from you. The beautiful and delectable Folashayo, who took us this morning on a journey of confidence on our way to significance. But just before I get into that, Alexandra reminded us that this conference is not just Now You See Me, it is also the International Women's Conference, right? But again, Mr. Osage took us in a different direction to say, these women that we are celebrating were supported by amazing men who consistently showed up and helped them. So it was such a beautiful way to wrap everything up together. So thank you so much. All right, so let me jump into the first question. And my first question is for Folashayo, Miss Folashayo.
Yeah.
So Miss Folashayo, very simply, you did speak a lot about confidence. And I want to ask you, what helped you develop confidence in your journey? You know, you've been a HR practitioner, you've been a lecturer, you've accomplished so many interesting things at such a young age, right? And I know that
Sorry,
did you hear me?
no.
Okay. I said, what helped you develop confidence on your journey to becoming who you are? So what has helped you develop confidence? You've been a lecturer, you're doing HR at very high levels, and you're still young and on your way to becoming a wife, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So what has helped you to build confidence on this journey? Could you please share with us?
I think first off, I had to make that decision, the decision to be better. That was the first thing. I had to make that decision that, okay, I wasn't where I wanted to be. So I needed to make that decision on the actions to take to become better. So that was the starting point for me. And then I started taking actions. And actions for me were just seeking uh, um, clarity from people who had been talk of HR professionals. I had like a mentor, even if the person didn't know, you know, she was my mentor. I just had someone I was looking up to. I watched the way people were doing stuff. I was working closely with people that were more experienced than I was. And I took up trainings. I was upskilling as well. I was reading as well. So those were the actions
Thank you so much. Thank you. So you made a
that
decision first. Oh,
helped
sorry.
me to build confidence.
Oh, sorry, there's some delay. So I think there's some delay. I think I thought I heard that you'd finished. Okay, thank you so much. So essentially, you started by, make a decision first, and then that just, spiraled on. All right, thank you so much. So I'll take the question to Mr. Osaje. Mr. Osaje, by the way, somebody dropped a comment and they said, Mr. Osaje is a good man. We need people like him to mentor the men we hear on social media. So, Mr. Osaje, please proceed to social media for boarding. Right? All right. So, proceed for boarding. All right. So, here's your question, Mr. Osaje. And thank you for bringing, like Alexandra said, your mom into the conversation. And do you feel that you were disadvantaged in some way for not having a man in that mix? Now, I know that Mommy did a fantastic job. I mean, we have you here today, and we just read that comment from you, from one of our listeners. Do you feel like you were disadvantaged in the sense that you just spoke about how men support, how men support women? Do you feel like if your father was there, there would have been even greater support for your mom? Please walk us through that.
Okay. Yeah, great question. You see, that's a question I would say I will never know the answer to fully. And I'll tell you why. Because the only time that I realized that my dad really wasn't around was when growing up, someone asked me, "Where's your dad?" Otherwise, I didn't even realize that, he wasn't there often. And the reason why that happened is because I had a mother who performed the role of a man and a woman. In fact, at work, they used to call her Margaret Thatcher because she was tough. So she was like a man. But then the significant thing she did is, you see, while we speak about the influence of men, you cannot remove the influence of the male figure in the life of a man, especially. What she also helped me do was to ensure that I had male figures in my life that I could look up to. So, for instance, I studied mechanical engineering. My mom's youngest brother, studied mechanical engineering. You will almost say that's not a coincidence because when I was thinking of what to study, excuse me, and eventually made a choice, he was one of the people I saw as an engineer. And, I was, eventually drawn to studying engineering. I spoke about the fact that one thankful thing I had is that my grandfather grew up in the same environment. Well, sorry, I grew up in the same environment where my grandfather was at the time, thankfully. And we were in my grandfather's house a lot. So I interacted with him a lot. We watched, he liked wrestling. We watched wrestling together. He told me things, he told me stories about his growing up. He told me stories about his work. I'll tell you something interesting. My grandfather, while he just started working, was very good. This letter writing thing and I spoke about, he was good at it. He worked then, Nigeria was still being colonized, and he worked under white people. And they had a very difficult boss. He advocated for that person to be removed by writing. He wrote letters upon letters. And I heard those stories, so I'm never afraid, so that the things that molded my life. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much. Thank you so, so much. I wish I could send a gift to your mom just to say thank you for doing a fantastic job. But from all the women to her, please help us wish her happy International Women's Day. Thank you. All right, so Ms. Folashayo, I have a question for you. You deal with a lot of young professionals. In fact, a few days ago, I reached out to you to say, I'm going to speak with some professionals. What are your thoughts on what do you think they should know? So based on your interaction with these people, what are 3 decisions that you think young professionals can start making today? Decisions that will shape a life of significance later. You've seen how they behave, you've seen how they interact, you've seen how they, conduct themselves at work. What are 3 things that you think young people need to pay attention to shape a life of significance?
Okay, from my experience with those young people, without shaming any generation, let me just use the Gen Z as an illustration. One thing that I think focus, most of them are not focused. They don't even have an idea. They just live the day, as it comes. We also need to be focused. So they need to be focused. In being focused, they will understand, they will get this clarity on their purpose, right? So the first thing is to be focused. The second thing is to be true to themselves. Self-deception is the worst form of deception. A lot of people, when we talk about confidence, we are not saying, oh, you should deceive yourself, right? People need to be true to themselves. They need to understand their area of strength and their, their there are areas that need improvement. I mean, their weaknesses. And lastly, they need to continuously improve on themselves. So you can't just sit there and think that you'll be conscious. You need to be conscious of it. You need to be self-aware, just self-aware before you can take action. So they need to take those conscious actions and improve on themselves. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much. So brilliantly spoken. Focus. And I'm so passionate about focus. Can you hear me, Folashayo? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
All right, fantastic. I said thank you so much for sharing. And focus is such a big deal because most people these days do not have focus because of social media. Yes, I said it, right? We are all distracted. Well, not anymore, not me anymore, because I've dealt with that. But essentially, most people are distracted and it just doesn't allow us to achieve many things. So yes, focus. Thank you so much. And I like the last one too, continuous improvement, meaning do not just, I don't know how to say, I feel like I'm sure you do enough. I'm sure with Folashayo in the HR industry, I'm sure everyone in Nigeria is going to hear that they need to improve continuously. So thank you so much for that. All right, let me go to Mr. Osaje.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Osaje, I have a question for you. And this question is around the African man. Yes, I said it. So most African or some, let me not, overgeneralize, but in this part of the world, men are not particularly domesticated. In this part of the world, most African men, if I may say, or maybe I should speak about the men I know. Most Nigerian men are not brought up to be domesticated. And when I say domesticated, I like to define that. I mean, they're not particularly cut out for helping in the kitchen, helping with homework or with children. Most men really do feel like their role is to make money, bring it home, pay for school fees, pay for the big ticket items, things like socks and school bags, and the woman, those kind of tiny, unimportant things. What are you going to say to a man to cause a shift in his mind to say, if this woman is going to be significant, I need to support her in ways that she needs to be supported, which may include taking care of the child? Because I like that picture that you put in there. I saw the picture with the woman with the baby. I saw the picture of the man with the baby, and I saw the picture of the woman working at and those were interesting dynamics. And you asked the question to say, which one do you guys see more often? I was actually going to raise all my fingers to say, this is the one I see more often, right? However, what do you say to our brothers who were brought up in a certain way, and that way is to say, this is not my role, this is not my duty, this is not what I'm cut out for, this is not what this is just not for me. What do you say to a man like that?
Okay, all right, great question. I'll use illustration of a football team. Many times, I know not everyone watches football, but I'll just use it anyway. And many times people celebrate the striker who scores the goals. And if you hear some great footballers speak, they will tell you that one person cannot win a competition or a league. You need a team, a complete team. So every single person in the team is significant. The goalkeeper, the winger, the defender, whoever it is. As much as one person may be more seen, everyone is significant. Now, if you think about the home, the truth about every relationship, marriage relationship, is the fact that marriage is a partnership. It's a partnership between two people. And when there's a partnership, it means that even before the partnership was developed, that became the partnership that exists today, there was an understanding and a synergy. I don't expect for instance, I don't expect any sane person to get married to someone that they do not agree on how they should build their home together. If those agreements are not in place beforehand, then there's a problem. Now, I agree that some people made mistakes, but you can still correct it by having conversations. One of the things in the last slide I presented was about dialogue. There's partnership and there's dialogue. Communication is very important. And communication is not just about expressing your views, it's about listening to what the other person's views are and understanding it. I need men to lead those conversations, right? So while we speak about conversations, people think that women are the ones that talk more, but it's not about talking more, it's about leading the conversations. As much as the conversation may digress, lead it to get the focal points, right? Even at work, a lot of times when you hold meetings, you do a summary of the meetings. There's nothing wrong with your buttressing what the summary of the conversation is when you're trying to make decisions at home. Now, speaking about being domestic or doing domestic work at home, because it's a partnership, there's the benefit of leveraging on each other's strengths. One person is better at being a striker, one person is better at being a goalkeeper. If I know how to cook better, I will do the cooking. I should do something else that I'm not very good at. I'll give an example. I do not enjoy cleaning. I do not enjoy washing. I do not enjoy that kind of work, right? And I remember when I was dating my wife, she told me that if I was looking for someone that was going to be every day in the kitchen, that kind of thing, that that was not what I was going to get, and that wasn't what I was looking for, because I already had the understanding that it's a partnership. But realizing that I don't have strength in certain areas, and I wanted to help in the areas that I have strength in, the things I could do, for instance, changing diapers, taking care of children, playing with children, and things like that, I'll do. I'm a great body in the kitchen. I can be bouncing around, gisting with you, making you feel comfortable while you're cooking. If I can't cook, I can do that for you, right? And those are kind of things that make a difference, makes the work lighter. Now, another thing that people will not understand, and this depends on the environment you are in, especially in Nigeria, where you can get help. If you don't have strength in being able to help at home, provide support for help, right? So I remember a lot of times when we even tried to get help at some points in our family. I was the one who went out to look for help, who selected the help to get to the house, not my wife, because in terms of doing that selection, she also saw that I'd be better at having that interaction, being able to understand people, to know who best to select. And that's where my strengths are. If we go somewhere and someone needs to speak, I'm the one that will likely speak. If we need to do things that have to do with getting details out together, my wife will do that. And that's because we understand where our strengths are and we work together. And that's the same way it works at home. If I'm better in one area, I should do it. I shouldn't wait for someone to tell me. I shouldn't wait for someone to suggest to me. But then there's one truth. Don't depend on only where your strengths are, because even sometimes when you're not very good at something, because help is needed there, you help. We do it at work. If our colleague is slacking, we cover up for the team. So why can't we cover up for the house too? I don't like cleaning, but I will do it. That's the reality.
Thank you so, so much. I was going to ask a follow-up question. Please, sir, do you wash plates?
I do.
Oh,
Actually, I do.
wow. Thank you so, so much.
Why not?
Why not, right? Thank you so much. Well done. Well done. You said a lot. And I know that if you continue down on this path, we're going to be here 8th of March by 12 noon. And I really do want us to get our days back. So thank you so much. So I'm going to be asking the rounding up question as we round up. Folashayo, Miss Folashayo, what is one thing that you want to leave with our listeners today as they go back to their homes? What is one sentence or one word or one thought that you would like to leave with our listeners today based on all you have said? And I'd ask Mr. Sajid the same question when she's done. Ms. Folashayo?
Sorry, I didn't get you. I
Yes,
think I
I
lost you
said,
at some point
no, it's
because of
okay.
signal.
Yes, it's okay. I
Could you
said,
please come in?
yes, I will. I said, what is one thing, one thought that you would like to leave with our listeners today? So after listening, after sharing, with us, listening to Mr. Sajid, what is one thing that you think, you'd be right to leave with our listeners today? A sentence or two.
Words of Christopher Robin, which says that you're actually braver. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. We lost you for a bit,
okay.
but we can hear you now, yes. Oh, wow.
Okay, so I would like to leave us with the words of Christopher Robin. I don't know. I think there
Yes,
is
continue.
there is a
Continue. We
lag.
can. There's some lag, but we can hear you now. Yes, continue.
Okay. Okay, so I would like to leave everyone with the words of Christopher Robin, which says that you're actually smarter, you're braver than you believe, you're smarter than you think. So people should just understand that regardless of what we're thinking, we actually have the ability. We have the ability to become who we ever want to become. Success will fill our calendars, but significance, we actually feel our life.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Folashayo, for coming here with your wisdom and sharing with us. Thank you. All right, Mr. Sajid, there's a question for you on YouTube.
Okay.
And that question says, I usually hear this question being asked to women. It says, how do you balance your home and your career as a man? I hear this from women a lot, so please, if you can do that in about a minute, how do you balance your home and career as a man?
Okay. All right. It actually fuses with what I wanted to say as being last words. Accountability. Accountability is very important. And when I speak about accountability, it's multifaceted. Multifaceted in the sense that your accountability first is to yourself. You have to be accountable to yourself and know that every single effort you put in at home or at work is the best quality of what you can offer. The next accountability you have is to your spouse and your family. You have to be accountable to your family, knowing that every single thing you do with them and for them is the best version of yourself. You should be able to offer the best version of yourself to your family. You should also have accountability at work to be able to know that you have the best version of yourself at work. Ultimate accountability you have as a human being is your accountability to God, knowing that every single resource that God has put in you, you are maximizing it to be the best version of yourself on earth. You are made in the image of God, and you should represent him in all totality. You should present him to be the best person to every single person you have an encounter with. If you have that mentality, then you realize that you are able to perform at the optimal. Now, of course, you have times when you may have some weaknesses or you may feel a little low. But remember that every single time you have put in your best and you have supported others, at the time you need support, others will be available to support you. So take up the accountability and ensure that you're accountable to your generation now, your generation that has come before you, and your generation that's coming after you. So that they will say, what did Osaje do? And you'll be able to answer that question with all faith and confidence.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Mr. Osaje. Thank you so much, Ms. Folashayo. This has been amazing. You two have done excellently well. God bless you. Thank you. All right, this brings us to the end of this panel session. I'll now be handing over to Alexandra to please introduce our next speaker. Thank you so much, our speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was mind-blowing. In fact, on YouTube, Mr. Sagi, I think you really need to come back for the men, because this is what they're saying, that I wish a lot more men could hear Mr. Sagi speak. He's a national treasure. My God. So like a lot of men want to hear you speak. So we will be, piggybacking on those very insightful moments and introducing our next speaker to teach us or to show us how to move from seasons to significance, lessons that only time can teach. And in this session, you're going to be learning how to redefine success across life stages and intentionally building a legacy rooted in purpose, values, and long-term impact. And I'm just going to go ahead to read Mrs. Olubumi's bio. Mrs. Olubumi Oguntayo is a seasoned public sector professional and accomplished administrator, currently serving as the Commission Secretary of the Lagos State Electricity Regulatory Commission. In this role, she plays a critical part in supporting regulatory governance, institutional effectiveness, and strategic coordination within Lagos State's evolving electricity sector. Mrs. Olubumi holds a Bachelor of Science degree in psychology and a master's degree in business administration, bringing together deep insight into human behavior with strong business and leadership acumen. Mrs. Oguntayo is an associate member of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries of Nigeria and an executive member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, reflecting her strong grounding in corporate governance, organizational management, and people development. With a career marked by professionalism, integrity, and service excellence, Mrs. Olubumi is respected for her ability to navigate complex institutional environments while fostering collaboration and accountability. Her work continues to contribute meaningfully to effective governance and sustainable sector development in Lagos. Born, in 1975, Mrs. Oguntayo is a Christian. She's married to engineer Adetunji Oguntayo, and they're blessed with 3 amazing children. Let us, with a resounding applause, welcome Mrs. Olubumi to share her perspective on this life of significance and building across seasons. Welcome, ma'am. We are so enthused to have you. Mrs. Olubumi, can you hear us? Hello, ma'am. Are you there?
Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yes. Good
But
morning.
we can't see you yet.
Okay, you can see me.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see me now?
Not yet. Okay, yes, we can see you now. Oh, fantastic. We can see you now. You're looking so delectable this morning, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. So, good morning
Yes, ma'am.
for some fellow speakers and all women joining us today. I'm Bumi Oguntayo, the company secretary by profession. So, I have the honor to speak on the theme from seasons to significance. Lessons only time can teach. Seasons and significance. Over the years, I've learned that significance is not built in moments of applause. It is built in seasons, and usually life does not move in a straight line. It moves in seasons. So the seasons of learning, we have seasons of waiting, seasons of transition, seasons of competence and significance. So, but I would like to begin with the seasons of learning. There was a season which, when I was a baby, there was also a season where I grew into a toddler, childhood, adolescence, and eventually adulthood. I can practically remember all these stages. So these are changes, significant phases in human growth and development, and all these changes are seasons that are quite interesting, but needs a great deal of determination and prayer to scale through. So while I was younger in my career, I used to think success was all about speed, how fast you can rise, how quickly your name becomes known, how soon you sit at the decision-making table. And but time has a way of humbling people, time with time tests, time reveals who you are. And the mistake people make is that they judge their lives by a single season. But significance is never built in one season. It is built over time through learning. So today I will share a season in my life when I was working very hard, but very quietly, and nobody seems to notice me. I'll call it a season of being overlooked. I was not the headline. I was not the keynote. I was not celebrated. I was just there as a subordinate and a downline. But while in such situation, I was actually working very hard. I was documenting, coordinating meetings, and ensuring structure, holding processes together behind the scenes as an admin and human resources officer, which I eventually rose to the post of a deputy director. So one day I asked myself, does anyone even see me? Because I work in a very large organization where you have a lot of people. I asked myself, have I been noticed? Do people even notice what I do? Have I ever gotten an award for working this hard? And I keep asking myself such questions, and I I could not answer. I could not give an answer to that. So, but I want to say that it got to a stage that I felt I need to change a role. I need to change. I need a change of role, a change of job. So I said, let me choose an area that I want to go to, and that's when I got into company secretaryship role. So time eventually answered that question because what I thought was not visible to anyone while I was an admin officer actually prepare me for higher level because that role then built my discipline, my attention to details, my understanding of governance, and an ability to manage people and systems. So a year later, when I stepped into my current role, I realized something powerful that I was not just starting from scratch. I'd been in training all along by coordinating meetings, preparing agenda, producing professional minutes. And I realized that every season has an assignment that is just a learning process. So I learned that one should not despise the days of little beginning. For the fact that my role was an admin officer then that I felt I didn't really like, does not make the role useless. It actually prepared me for a greater ground, which I'm happy about today. So I really appreciate the role of learning and significance in this instance. So when the season when you're learning quietly, maybe building the capacity for your next level, it may even be the capacity that your next level requires. So then another season I would like to share with us is on transition. That's which I will call work in progress. It's a season, just like what I mentioned on that I actually transitioned from one job role to another. So I'll call it that. I'll say that time also teaches that seasons change. You cannot operate at today's capacity with yesterday's mindset. So every new level requires a new version of you, which I can say that I'm a good example of that. You will outgrow some environment, transition into new responsibilities, and may even need to preside over difficult issues. Um, you should not see yourself as this, you should not see this as an instability, and but one should see it as a growth process. So one should not be afraid of evolution. There are moments that I have to think differently, live differently, communicate more strategically, and carry responsibility beyond my own comfort zone. So growth could be uncomfortable, but discomfort is often the evidence that you are expanding, and significance lives on the other side of expansion. So I would say the woman you were 5 years ago prepared will prepared you for today. The woman you are today is actually preparing you for tomorrow. So I would say I'll just implore people to embrace transition because the darkest hour, I'll say, is nearest the dawn. And I also want to talk about season of waiting. While you learn, you are transiting. You There's also season of waiting. In waiting, and the season of waiting, it's particularly seen as one of the hardest seasons for anyone, especially women. Um, Waiting could be waiting for recognition, waiting for opportunities, waiting for love partners. It could be waiting for open doors in so many facets of life. It could be gaining knowledge, acquiring a position, marriage, motherhood, and so on. In those moments, you often compare yourselves with other people. You see other people progressing, advancing, and you see them being celebrated, and you hear congratulatory announcement, and you'll be like, what about me? What is happening to me? And if you're not careful, you begin to question your own journey. That's what about me? And you wonder. So I remember when I got married, and it took me like a year and 4 months to conceive, apparently 16 months. And so it was like 16 years to me then. But I didn't lose hope. I
So
kept,
sorry, please. Could you
hello,
yeah,
hello,
sorry, please, could you just put the video in front of you? Like, if you could position it. Okay.
you know,
Yes, much better. Yes, got much better now, ma'am. Thank
okay.
you.
So, like I was saying, I said I remember when I got married and it took me like 16 months to conceive, but I didn't lose hope. I kept praying and trying, and eventually it happened. So it's that's I see that as a season of waiting. So that's what time teaches us. It teaches us to be patient. It's because if you are not ready for what the future is wants to offer you, if you don't have patience to be able to manage it, then there could be issues. So what is meant for you will require you to be ready for it. Some delays are not divine protection. So at times, what looks like delay is often development. So in those my waiting periods, I became a prayer warrior and I got closer to God. And I also realized that growth that happens too quickly can collapse under pressure because growth that is layered through time becomes stable. So this speaks to how grounded you've become through years of experience. And I also see that some of the most significant people we admire today were ones unseen, underestimated, and overlooked. But they stayed consistent, and consistency over time actually profits them. So when it comes to time also teaches that season of preparation is just as important as season of visibility when you get seen. So if you rush preparation, you will struggle in the position. Many people want significance, but very few are willing to honor this season that builds it. So as much as you want to be visible, you should also be prepared. You should to face what it entails to get visible. You should you should prepare yourself, you should do your homework very well, so that when you actually come to limelight, you are coming out to be reckoned with, and you are making sense. Some waiting seasons are structural alignment. Some I would say some silence is actually strategic positioning. When your time comes, you must have the maturity to carry it, and maturity cannot be rushed. So in essence, I would say delay seasons are not actually denied seasons. So talking about seasons, season as well. I will I want to talk about the season of competence and the season of transitioning. In transitioning, that's when I would like to talk. I wanted to mention competence and significance. That's another lesson I've learned over the years. I learned that competence builds success and character, as well as character builds significance. So one can rise through competence, but one can only remain through with one's character. So time has shown repeatedly that skill may open doors, but integrity keeps them open. So in leadership and public service, especially, what people remember is not what you have achieved, not only what you have achieved, but how you have actually achieved those things. So, and all these questions do come up. Can one stand firm in times of pressure? How well did you treat people with dignity? Can you remain ethical when you have to compromise, when compromise was easier? And can significance, how significant can you be? So in all this, the difference between success and significance, I would say, is all about the achievement that lies within. Significance can be impact, while success will ask you, what have I gained? Why significance will ask, who is better because I was here? When your focus shifts from how do I rise, to how do I add value, then significance begins. So as a result of that, over time, my prayer has changed. It stopped being let me rise and became let me matter. So let the systems I enter become stronger, governance become more structured, let process improve. Those are the things I've been craving for, and let people around me grow. So I let people's life around me get improved, so that, because at times title changes, but when that title changes, when you leave that position, when you look back at maybe where you've worked, where you've stayed, people you've been friendly with, what impacts will forever remains? What impacts have you made in those areas, in those sectors, in those circumstances, among those people? So and that will lead me to what I would say, building significance is not just one big moment. It's talks about it's a daily discipline. It's showing up, being prepared. It's doing the right thing repeatedly, not cutting corners, and it's choosing excellence even when no one is watching. So one day, what I felt like, ordinary commitments, like I just something simple that I just feel, okay, I'm just doing this ordinarily, will actually become something, an extraordinary impact that people can reckon with, that people can actually say no, refer to. And in fact, when I look at such things, I I I say, if I can actually achieve this in the nearest future, I'll be happy that I've made a significant impact in the community and the society at large. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. I I I especially loved listening to you. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. I especially loved listening to you when specifically highlighting the points of embracing, your season of preparation, your season of learning, right? And to embrace those seasons of seeming obscurity, because it is those seasons that prepare you for visibility, so that when you show up, you are essentially a person of substance. And then there was this line that you quoted that just blew me away. Well, I'm still here, but get the point that competence builds success, but character is what builds significance. I think that is such a powerful note to, end, your session on. And we just want to thank you for adding your life lessons and the lessons you've learned along the way to this conversation of significance. Thank you so much, ma'am. And it was such an honor to have you join us and contribute your thoughts to legacy building in this journey of significance. Thank you, ma'am.
Most
We'll
welcome.
look forward to also having you during your question and answer session, because I'm sure that a couple of us have questions for you. So please stay tuned. Don't go away, man. Thank you so much. Yes.
Welcome.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Now going ahead to introduce our next speaker, our final speaker, who is going to be speaking to us on creating pathways to significance and telling us, demonstrating to us, or just teaching us about how men, can help the women in their lives as well create significance, or, like in the words of Mr. Sagi, be co-creators of significance with their women. And I'm just going to please confirm that you can hear me. I think that my screen is frozen right now.
I think we lost Alexandra. I think Alexandra may have just gone out maybe. So let me step right in. Okay, she's come back. She's back here. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ogutayo, for that beautiful, beautiful presentation. Thank you, ma. Like Alexandra said, please hang around so that we can get you into the panel session. All right, so we have the honor of bringing in our next speaker, Mr. Seyi Clay Abiola. But before he speaks, we're going to read his bio. Mr. Seyi, I please confirm that you are in the building so that we can go ahead with your bio.
Oh yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. I can hear you loud and clear. Okay, let me just confirm that I can see you. Yes, we can see you. So I know you would like to share your slides. Would you like to share your slides?
Yes, please.
All right, so while you're sharing, I believe you've been given access to be the co-host. So while you're sharing, yes, I believe you have that access, so you can share easily. So while you're sharing, I'm going to, Alexandra, if you're able to read the bio now, that'd be fine. If you can't, I'll just go ahead, okay? Just let me know if you can speak, all right? Okay.
Yes, I'm back in the building, but I'm with my phone, so just bear with me.
So do you want to go ahead and read his bio?
Sorry, please just go ahead. My screen is frozen. Sorry about that.
All right, that's okay. All right. So Mr. Abiola Oluwaseyi Clay is a multidisciplinary leader with over a decade of experience spanning international corporate governance and environmental research. With a career rooted in both the United Kingdom and West Africa, Abiola specializes in navigating complex regulatory landscapes while advancing scientific understanding of sustainable ecosystems. He is recognized for his ability to lead organizational transitions and provide data-driven insights for environmental management. Clay Abiola Oluwaseyi is a director at Clay Hart Limited, London, UK. As a director, he oversaw the strategic and statutory operations of this London-based entity. His tenure was defined by executive governance, managing all legal filings and compliance requirements with UK Companies House, and ensuring the firm met rigorous international business standards. Also, strategic oversight, he directed corporate decision-making and fiscal responsibility throughout the company's life cycle, including the complex processes of organizational restructuring and voluntary dissolution. Mr. Oluwaseyi Clay Abiola has been a pivotal contributor to the Department of Sustainable Forest Management, where his technical expertise influenced regional environmental policy. In his personal life, outside of his professional and academic pursuits, Abiola resides in New York. He's deeply passionate about his faith and finds great joy in sharing the teachings of Jesus with others, finding it to be a cornerstone of his personal and community life. Ladies and gentlemen, with much pomp and pageantry, please welcome to the stage and to the platform this afternoon, Mr. Oluwaseyi Clay Abiola. Over to you, sir.
Wow. Yeah. Good morning. Or should I say good afternoon? Because I know it's afternoon over there in Nigeria. Thank you, Adiola, for that introduction. In fact, when you were talking, I was like, I'm not sure you were talking about me. Is that me that you're talking about? But man,
I skipped some parts. I skipped some parts.
But all glory to God. And I promise, I'm not a pastor, but some of my presentation this morning, I might switch from relationship to corporate, and then maybe as as a Christian man. So pardon me if you're not a Christian, but I believe that you'll be able to learn from everything I'll be sharing this morning today. Amen. So to start, I'm going to share a short story. And when I was 7 years old, I lost my dad. It was devastating. As a 7 years old boy that was very, very close to his father. It was something strange that happened because I didn't cry. I kind of understood what happened. My father is dead, and obviously he's not coming back. And for some reason, I took it upon myself to make sure that everybody, was fine. Which is, I'm the last one, and I have two older brothers and two older sisters, and then my mom. So a day before the burial, I just kept going around. I'll go to my mom's room. There were obviously people there, and I'll go and I'll just try to talk to her and tell her that shouldn't worry, everything will be fine. I'll go into my brother's room and a lot of them were just looking at me and like, and they kind of felt like, he's just 7 years old, he doesn't know what's going on. But a part of me just felt responsible that, I needed to step up. And especially for my mom, I felt like, okay, she has lost someone that is very, very important to her. And I needed to step into that role. Obviously I was 7 years old. I didn't know what I was saying or what I was thinking. But that moment, I made a vow to myself that I was going to be the best man, that any woman can, be proud of to be with. So that started my journey, as a man, working towards perfection or being a better version of myself. That situation also gave me the desire to always, be there for women in general. And I've taken steps and time to, learn about women, ask questions, and, even why, I continue on this journey called life. So today I'm going to be talking about how men can support women. So I don't know, can you see my slides? Just to be sure.
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. There are so many ways men can support women, but I'll be sharing on few major points that I have come up with. So first thing I'll be talking about is why support matters. We need to know why, this is very, very, very important. So the first is to build confidence, to support and uplift women and enhance their, self-esteem. In a world or in a place like Nigeria, where is a patriarchy society, and um, there is this notion that men should always be at the top. Giving support to women will not only boost their confidence and let them know that they can also step into, leadership roles. So that's one of the reasons why you need to show support, because if support is only coming from women, other men won't recognize that there's a need, for that to happen. And also is also to remove stereotypes. Excuse me, I'm trying to. Some reason I lost the slide, so I'm going to try to go back to. Please kindly bear with me. I can't see what I'm sharing. So
It's okay.
all right, can you still see the slides? Just to be sure.
Yes, we can now.
Okay. All right, thank you. So, like I said, to remove stereotypes, you have to challenge the norms and promote equality and understanding, really. The other reason why support matters is to encourage growth, support, foster personal and professional development, and lastly, to build faith. Like I said, I'm a man of faith, to trust, believe, strengthen relationship and collaboration. So what are the ways that men can support women? I've chosen, 4 key areas, which I title key areas of support, which is emotionally, and you can provide understanding and encouragement. So one of the ways that you can support a woman, whether it's your wife or a friend or even somebody that's just a co-worker, emotionally is to listen actively. You give your, like I said, give your undivided attention. So one of the things that I did when I was trying to put this presentation together was to, ask my partner, that, for some reason, I don't think I've ever asked her that question. Like, you know what? I know most of the time I try to encourage you when you're down, try to speak this picture to you, I try to pray with you and all that, but I've never really asked you how I can support you. So I, kind of put that question to her and she said so many things that, that I've never really thought of, and one of the things that she said to me, which I've heard before, was sometimes I just want you to listen without, whether judging or without saying anything. As men, because we are solution oriented, most times when we hear people talk or when we hear our partner talk or a woman talk, the first thing we're thinking of is, oh, she's telling me because she wants me to provide a solution. Oh, she's telling me because I need to quickly solve this problem. But sometimes women just want you to listen. They just want to vent and they just want you to be there to just listen to them. So I believe that one of the ways you can support your woman or a friend, a partner, or a co-worker emotionally is to listen to them. You can be at work and you're a woman in your department, just want to talk. Sometimes, it happens to me sometimes, as someone that is in the US Navy, sometimes when, as a supervisor, when a woman or a female officer comes to me and wants to share, the first thing I'm thinking of is, oh, she wants a solution. But sometimes, even at work, they just want to vent. They might be having a bad day and they just want somebody they can, talk to and listen to. So one of the other ways that you can also support women emotionally is to validate their feelings. I'm sure a lot of us have heard this before, that women are emotional, they respond emotionally and all that. So sometimes as men, because we we are hard in code, and we tend to always just provide a solution. You would tend to dismiss um their feelings, and over the years, one of the things I've learned to do is to validate people's feelings. You can't tell people how to feel. And it's so funny, because last year I lost my mom, and the way I felt was not the same way I felt when I was 7 years old. When I was 7 years old, I really didn't cry, nothing mattered. In fact, I didn't cry about losing my father until when I was 21. Something happened, and I realized that if my father was alive, that would have happened to me. And that was the first time I cried about my father passing away. But when my mom passed away, it was different. It was a totally different, and emotions, I cried and all that. And I realized that a lot of people were trying to tell me how to manage the situation, how to process my feeling, and I had to call out some of my friends, like, you can't tell me how to process this, and that applies to women as well. You can't um, dismiss how they feel. So before you even do anything or say anything, you need to validate their feeling and how they feel. Understand why um, she's feeling that way. That will give you a better understanding of how, what to say and how to communicate with her. And then you can also ask open-ended questions like that can encourage them, by saying, how did that make you feel? Or the situation that happened at the meeting yesterday, how did that make you feel? If you ask questions like that, they'll be able to tell you. And that way, as a leader or even as a partner, you will be able to understand, okay, if I talk this way to her, then this is how she feels. So you need to ask questions like that. So I'm going to also move to mentally. How do you, give support as a man to women mentally? I highlighted this, you offer insight and, empower decisions. One of the things that I wrote down in my notes, I'm going to be sharing with you, is that supporting women mentally involves creating a safe, non-judgmental space, and then this is how some of the ways you can do that. Listen without judgment. It's easy to listen to somebody venting to you or saying what they've done or what happened at work. And even if you feel that she's wrong, don't immediately judge her while she's talking. At least listen to her first, and then also, you need to be present while she's talking. Spend quality time together, doing things that they enjoy. Check in regularly, show care about their mental state, and then also encourage self-care. Because it's easy for women to forget about themselves, especially if you have a partner that goes to work and then comes home and then she's already in the kitchen trying to cook to make sure that everybody is good, and then she's doing that back and forth 5 days a week. And then on weekends, she's also trying to clean the house and all that. So as a man, you have to look out and make sure you encourage self-care. Like, but I think you need to rest. This weekend, I think you need to go to a spa and, just, decompress from all the stress from work and, managing the house. So as a man, you need to encourage that, because sometimes your partner can forget themselves, especially when a woman gets pregnant and then they has a child, and then she's trying to make sure that the child is well taken care of, and then women start having children and they just forget themselves. So you as a man, you, instead of criticizing and say, oh, you're gaining weight and all that, you can encourage her without even saying, oh, you're gaining weight. You can say, what, babe, no, I think we can, I'm feeling some some type of way, and I believe, let's start exercising together, without saying, oh, you're adding weight. And then you feel like she's stressed, you can encourage her to go to a spa and just have a rest, on the weekend. So you need to, as a man, you need to do that. So also, one of the things I wrote down is to avoid unsolicited advice. Sometimes when you're listening to someone talking to you or venting, immediately you want to quickly give an advice. Sometimes you just keep quiet unless the person or the woman asks for the advice. So focus more on listening and giving support. So I'm going to move to the next point, which is spiritually. Yeah, like I said, I'm not a pastor, but there are just a few things I wrote down from my experience as someone that is a believer of Christ. I believe that one of the things that women look for in a man is also values, and that values is not just your character. Yeah, I think there's also that spiritual part where a woman wants somebody that can lead or help them spiritually, whether it's praying together. I know sometimes people say women are drawn to pastors a lot, and it's because they see these pastors as people that can provide that spiritual covering. So as a man, one of the thing or the way that you can support your women is having that spiritual understanding and having that spiritual leadership in the house, or even as friends. I have female friends that calls me to pray with them or share the word, sometimes with them. So that having that spiritual grace is also a way to show support to your women. It could be with sharing scripture that are relevant to the situation they are going through, praying with them. You can also encourage spiritual practices like support their quiet time, meditation, and even buying books, that can, encourage whatever they are going through at that moment. So finally, I'm also going to go into what I called as a boss, which is how can you support a woman as a boss? As somebody that has worked with a security company as an operations manager, and then transitioning from that into the military, is easy to want to treat everybody the same way. Because when you're going through a military training, in quote, there's no male or female. Everybody, it's like everybody is treated like a male. So, but over the years in the military, they have been able to try to separate that. So it's easy for me as a military man, that I have leadership in the military to always want to relate in that manner, to everybody, or to even women in my life, whether it's my sister, my younger cousins, yeah, and even friends. So one of the, ways we can support women as a boss is to foster equality and inclusion. One of the things they're trying to do in the military right now is to give support to women. So one of the things that we're pushing recently is one of the suggestions that I gave recently was to see how we can give women maybe off days or work from home when they're having, that time of the month. Because of the women in my life, my sisters, cousin, and my partner, I've been able to realize how tough it can be when women are going through their period. And sometimes I can't imagine a woman being at work and going through that kind of pain. So one of the thing that we've been advocating for while in the military is not yet approved, is that how can we support women, when they are going through, their period, that time of the month, there's an opportunity for them to work from home, work remotely and maybe for a day or two, so that, they're not going through that pain where they're at work, and we're just going to also share some of the things that I've written down. Man. So as a boss, supporting women in the workplace can boost morale, productivity, and retention. And here are some ways that we can do that. Equal opportunities, ensure fair access to promotions, training, and challenging project. Sometimes, in the military, sometimes we want to pick people to do tasks that requires physical strength. Most of the time, you try to choose, men. And one of the things that they've been trying to do is that, what, give this opportunity, let put out the opportunity, let people volunteer rather than you just saying you should do this task. So put out the opportunity and let it be a fair what's it called? Let it be fair. Let people, whether it's a male or a female, let them show their interest, and then from there you can select who is going to take the task. Or one other way you can support as a boss is through mentorship, where you can offer guidance and support their career growth, sponsor them for opportunities, provide a pathway to significance, and then sponsor women for leadership opportunities. One of the things, like I said, I know I've been going back to the military. One of the things that we also do in the military is to encourage women to go into combat. There is always this notion that women don't like going into combat, but recently we've seen a lot of women that have been showing interest. So, when you get into military, you obviously have a training on how to use guns, but there are some specific guns now that they use in combat. So for you to be able to use that combat, you have to be, your leadership has to send you for those training. So previously, we see that most times the leadership usually send men for this training, to get all this combat training and neglecting the women, just thinking that they're not interested. So, but of recent, like I said, this opportunity has been open to women. So whoever is interested, if you're interested, you let us know, and then we can send whoever is interested for those training. So also we can, like I said before, flexible work arrangements, consider flexible hours or remote work options during that time of the month. One other way you can support women as a boss is to address biases and stereotypes. Recognize and address unconscious bias in hiring, promotions, and feedback. You provide resources for mental health support. You amplify their voices in meetings and discussions. Highlight women's ideas and contributions. Use their influence to bring attention to their work. Finally, you can also, be there for feedback and recognition. You need to acknowledge and celebrate women's achievement. One of the things that I've always thought about is the word empowerment. I've always thought about it. Empowerment. It feels like someone that is powerless and you're trying to empower them. And I'm like, for some reason, that word has never sat well with me. Like, I don't think women are powerless. I don't think they are weak. So why the word empowerment? So every time I see that word, please pardon me, every time I see that word, it just always felt like, I don't think this is the right word, in every time there's a women conference or, so I've been trying to look for a word that we can use to replace that word empowerment. Because every time I hear it, it's always felt like you're trying to say that women are powerless. I know where that is coming from, which is where, okay, women couldn't do certain things in the past, but right now women are doing so much in the society. So I don't think we should use that word, because I believe that women they're not weak, they are strong. In fact, when I think about giving birth, I don't think you can say somebody that is weak that can achieve that. So for people that are listening and everybody, if you have a word that we can use to replace that, you can send it to me. I'll be glad, because I just feel like that word empowerment by now should not be used again, because women are doing so much in the society right now. So apart from that, so we're going to also talk about practical support, which is effective step to help women thrive, which is as a man, you need to speak up against discrimination, help create an environment where women can feel safe and valued, empowering them to express themselves and pursue their goals without fear. And then also share responsibilities. Like I said, in the military right now, we're sharing responsibility equally. We're not saying, oh, this is a physical task, then it has to be men alone. You share responsibility even at home. Earlier, my co-presenter was talking about how you can help your woman in the house. Somebody that loves to cook. I love to cook. When I was single, I cook. So cooking is not a problem for me. So sometimes I just feel like, what, I want to cook a 4-year-old. Most time I'm not going to wait for my partner. I'll just make it. And it's so funny because I remember she said, oh, when she was writing, when she was praying and asking God for a man, one of the things she wrote is like, she wants a man that can cook. Like, oh, really? You put that in your prayer? Say, well, I guess God was listening. Amen. So we need to share responsibility at home, and work fosters equality, elevating pressure on women and promoting a balanced partnership. And finally, one of the, like I said, mentor women in their careers, providing guidance, encouragement, and opportunities. I also want to emphasize on, is it easy for men that mentor women to, they always ask to be that, you have to always define the relationship, because sometimes this is something that has happened to me as someone that has been interested in supporting women, mentoring women. There are times that someone you're trying to mentor, if we don't define the relationship, it could lead into the person having feelings for you. And then when immediately you see that, don't ignore it. You have to define it. You have to call it out and say, this is what I'm doing. This is a mentorship program. I'm trying to help you. And I just have to, like I said, just need to define it. So when you notice something like that, as a man, you need to really to define it. Sometimes it's cool when you say, oh, this person that mentoring, is interested in me, and then she's trying to, can I come and help you clean your house? When it gets to that, you realize, you have to be able to define that relationship, because whether you like it or not, you can be mentoring somebody, and because they're looking up to you and probably have not seen that, the qualities they see in you in another man, there is possibility that that relationship can switch from, mentorship into the person trying to, person having feelings for you. So you have to be very, very careful as a man as you go into that role of mentorship. And so finally, there's one thing I would also like to share, and this is for the women, how women can ask for support. The Bible says, ask and it shall be given unto you. So in relationship, I believe as a woman, you need to also be able to communicate. don't just assume that, oh, he's a man, he should know what to do. He's a man, he should, the truth is we all grew up differently in different homes. Like my presenter was sharing in the earlier. Pardon me because I can't remember your name. Was sharing earlier. He lived in a home where it was just his mom, so he has a better understanding on how to relate with women compared to somebody that was raised in a single father home, or somebody that was even raised in a where both parents are present. So don't just assume that, oh, he's a man, he should know. I know there's this notion that because you expect a man to be in a leadership role, he should know everything. Oh, he should know how to treat me. He should know my love language. He should know, as my boss, this is what you do. So you need to be able to communicate, what you, how a man in your life can support you, whether it's your partner, your husband, or even your boss. You need to be able to communicate that. And I'm glad that, I asked that question before going into this presentation. I asked that question. I asked my partner about, how I can support. In fact, she just kept talking. I'm like, wow, I didn't expect you to talk for this long, and I'm glad she was really, really able to express herself. So you women, you can enhance support by being clear and specific, using the word I statement and appreciating men's effort. You also need to learn to appreciate your man or your boss that is a man. You need to appreciate their effort. When they're trying to understand, when they're trying to push, for advocate for equality and all that. Like I said, one of the things that we're trying to do in the military right now is to push for when women can work remotely during that period, during that time of the month. So yes, they've not approved it yet, but at least, that's an effort. So things like that, may need to be appreciated for whatever effort they are making, So like I said, learn how to communicate, how your man can give you support. You can have, I wrote down some conversation starters and I'm going to share it with us. One of it is, A, can we talk about how I can feel more supported? And then you can also say, I would love it if you could help me with so and so. Oh, I would love it if you can help me with the dishes. Most of the times when we're done at night, I'm tired. I've just cooked. I would love it if you could help me with the dishes. And then finally, you can also say things like, this is what is working for me. Can we do more of that? You can communicate this with your boss. You can communicate with your partner. This is what is working for me. Can we do more of that? I love it when we exercise together. I love it when we go on trips. I love it when we go on vacation. It just helps me relax and take my mind off work. You have to be able to communicate this, with the men in your life. Amen. So in conclusion, how men can create a culture of support. There are two ways. I say you educate yourself and then reflect and improve, on the education yourself by understanding women's challenges and foster empathy, enabling men to support effectively. You have to educate yourself and learn more about women and their feelings and how they communicate. Reflect and improve. Have a regular self-assessment, encourages growth. Seek feedback from women to refine your approach, ensuring your support remains relevant and impactful in their lives. So educate yourself while you're trying to implement what you've learned. Try to get feedback from the women so that you know that you're doing the right thing and whatever you're doing is being effective. All right, so that will come to the end of my presentation. I believe that as we continue to do this, we'll have more success to celebrate. Man, thank you for the opportunity to share today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abiola Clay Oluwaseyi. Thank you so much. Yes, Miss Falasha is giving you a thumbs up there, or clapping. I want to say thank you, and well done. Thank you for those insightful topics. So now we're going to move straight into the panel session. And I will invite back Mrs. Olubumi. Mrs. Olubumi, would you be kind enough to turn on your video so that we can get right in? So while we're getting Mrs. Olubumi on the call, Mr. Shri, I'm going to ask you a question for your panel session. I'm going to start with you, right? And thank you so much. And first of all, thank you for waking up so early, getting on the call, staying on the call, and still delivering your presentation. We appreciate you. We honor your sacrifice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Right, so I have this question. You're probably the only military person on this call, and I wanted to ask a question about the military. So what are some lessons that you learned that you can bring to us here on this part of the non-military people that people can learn from on their journey to significance? What are some things that we can learn from that you learned in the military?
I think one of it will be what I said earlier. Like in the military, there's no male or female. Over the years, they've been able to bring it to a part where don't just say that this task is a physical task, then I'm just looking for men to do it. Let there be equality. In fact, I can't emphasize more on the word equality. It's one of the things that they've been trying to push out for years, in the last 2 decades at least, in the military, which is equality. Equality. Don't just say that, okay, this task, you're just going to be. So right now, when there's an opportunity in the military, they just put it out there. Whoever can, take on the task. And, right now we have a lot of leadership in the military, which is something that is not, that wasn't happening before. You have women becoming commanders, and leading a whole platoon, leading a whole squadron, or leading, in fact, a military base. So, to me, like I said, equality is not just something that you put on paper and say. It has to move beyond words. Like we said, move beyond words, where, when that opportunity comes, where it's out there for everybody, and you treat everybody the same way. Yeah, in the military, when we're doing physical test, there is, for example, they can say, oh, for you to pass for you to be on that level of readiness, they can say, as a man, you have to do 50 push-ups or 60 push-ups. And then they can say, oh, women, you have to do maybe 25 or 30 push-ups. We still have that, because whether you like it or not, there's also that part where men's body structure is totally different from. So recognizing that equality has nothing to do with, in quotes, strength all the time. Because the truth is, you can have a man that is physically ready, and then you can have a woman that is mentally ready. They both work. If a man is physically ready and not mentally ready, then he obviously can't work. So he's not just completing a task in the military is not just physical. There's also the mental that, if you notice, there's a lot of veterans that comes after war, and then they have PTSD. That's mental. So if you're not in a good mental state, you can't perform as well. So equality is not just physical. There's mental. There's emotional readiness. There's spiritual readiness and all that. So I believe that we can apply that to the regular life, not just the military. Yeah, I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Thank you so, so much. And you answered the question that someone dropped for you. And the question is, how can you differentiate between equality and equity when it has to do with gender roles? And you mentioned that a man is asked to do 50 push-ups, and they say, okay, the woman should do 25 push-ups. So when we're measuring equality, equality is saying both of you do 50. Equity is as much as your body can carry, you do what your body can carry. So your body can carry 25, your body can carry 50, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's equity, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you so much. Do you want to say anything else about that?
Yeah, I think that answered the question already, like you said.
Yeah.
Equity is doing as much as you can. Whether you don't like it or not, there are people that when you get to work, there are people that the first 4 hours they're going to be productive. And there's some people that it's just the first 3 hours. There's some people that for 6 hours they can go and go. That doesn't mean that, and one of the things that I also learned in the military, there's this word that we use. I can't remember now, but the main thing is that, I can come into work and someone will a task, the thing that they give you a task, achieve this task today. Make sure that by the end of the day, this thing is done. I'm somebody that I like to go pum 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 like that, get things done. Do you understand? So I came into the military and they will give me tasks and I'll be just doing pum 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 pum. They want me to get that thing done in a day, but I'm 2-3 hours is done. And then I'm sitting there looking and looking and looking. And then because I'm looking and it looks as if I'm not doing anything, they will give me more tasks. There's nothing wrong with that. But I have colleagues that when they give them the same task, they will spend 6 hours or spend the whole day done. And after a while, I started complaining. I'm like, oh man, I come in, I do this, I do that. I'm like, and they'll be like, okay. And I remember my chief at that time was like, okay, I don't think you read the instruction. Get this done in a day, by the end of today. The fact that you got it done in 2 days and your colleague got it done in 8 hours doesn't mean that I should put you above the person. Whether you like, that person is still getting their task or their work done because the task requires them to get it done by the end of the day. Yeah, it's good and it's nice that you are doing, yours in 2 hours, and that way you can take up more responsibilities and all that. But the truth is that they want that thing to be done by the end of the day. So you can't measure and say, oh, it's still equality because at the end of the day, the instruction says get it done. I don't know if that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that brilliant response. Thank you. All right, Mrs. Bumi Oguntayo, I have a question for you, and this is it. One of the quotes that you mentioned is that some waiting seasons are structural alignment. Ma, you dropped some truth bombs, like Alexandra said. You dropped some very, very insightful truth bombs on us. And so can you please tell us more about that, right? And share any structural alignment seasons that you have had in your life. So here.
I think you're muted.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. When I said some waiting seasons are actually seasons of structural alignment, I meant that at times when we experience some difficulty, hardships in our life's journey, it's that's not the end of the world. It's not as if life is punishing us, but life is just trying to rearrange things. Not on the surface, but because at times we may not actually see those what we see as hindrances. But there's life is just trying to rearrange some things for us beneath, so that we'll be able to carry the weight of what is coming to us next. So I want to liken it to a building construction. Like if you are trying to erect a tall building now, and high rise, engineers must try to strengthen the foundation, adjust the beams, align the structure so that it can support the height that is coming. So at times when we have a stopover in our life, it's not as if things are not moving on. there's an underground work that is going on beneath that we actually may not realize. And it could also be something that we are also aware of, that we are trying to put things in shape so that we can actually get to our targeted goals. So during such process, things may look as if nothing is working. We start praying, we start planning, things may seem delayed or slow. I would like to cite example about my own journey that I mentioned, from switching roles from admin and human resources officer to company secretary. At a time when I was on the role of admin and human, I actually did it for quite some years, and at the time I got like I was just doing same thing day in, day out. But yeah, and then I didn't know that life was actually preparing me for another role, because in most organizations, I work with the government, and you don't stay long in a particular, they keep posting you from one ministry to another. And any ministry I get to, I get to be reckoned with when it comes to meetings, arranging programs. I'll be the first call. So I got used to such duties and such programs. So I didn't know that it was actually preparing me for the new role that I'm taking now. So when things like that happen, you don't, whatever experience you have in life, it's a lesson, it's an experience, and it's never wasted. So it's realigning you for future purpose. So I see that there are so many alignments that we can have in life. It could be alignment of character, and it's maybe in terms of capacity building, alignment of the people you associate with. You may choose your friends. There are times you may not be able to choose your colleagues, but looking back over my journey, I know that in some instances, at some situations, when I thought it was over, and that was the moment that God was actually realigning my life for a better purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma. Oh, I think I'm now muted. Okay, I'm muted. Thank you so much, ma. I really wish we had more time, right? But we have to just keep moving. Thank you so much. All right, so I have one more question for both of you. And if you had to leave one message for the people who are listening, from your wealth of knowledge, from your wealth of experience, for somebody who is saying, I want to achieve greatness, I want to be successful, what are you going to tell? What one message are you going to leave with that person? I'll start from Mr. Sheyi.
Oh, wow. I'll say that impossible is nothing. One of the greatest scripture I believe is in the Bible says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The first time I heard this scripture was, I think I was like maybe 8, 9, or 10 or thereabout, in a Sunday school. And as a child, that I can do all things, was something I've heard on to. Having the faith that nothing is impossible, and believe that nothing or no one can stop you from, getting to where you want to get to, and whatever you want to achieve. And I also say this, the Bible says God that God will do far much above what we can think or imagine. So, like imagine your goal is to build a 3-story building. The knowing behind your mind that God wants to do much more. So while you are thinking of building a 3-story building, God is trying to build a skyscraper. So, having that 2 scriptures in your mind, or that, illustration will help you get to wherever you want to get to.
Thank you so much. Impossible is nothing, right? Thank you. All right, Mrs. Olubumi, what is one thought? What is one thing that you want people to as they try to become significant?
I'll just advise that significance is not something that suddenly appears tomorrow. You don't just get significance. It's something you must have prepared for. It's something that it is built. It's something that you must have been intentionally preparing for. Drawn the goals. You must have drawn your goals, your targets, that this is what I want to achieve. And it's you have to be focused. And in today's world, people want to be seen quickly. They want to be reckoned with. They want to instead of investing in learning and improving their skills, I think that they just want to get there in a twinkle of an eye, without noting that they have to actually prepare for that growth that they want. They see other people's progress, they want to be like that, not minding what those people have gone through, the refinement that they've gone through. So I'll just advise that people should be focused and know that, and they should also be patient with process, because at times there could be delay. The delay, like I said, does not mean denial. That they should just be focused, be hardworking, and before you know it, you get to where you are going, you achieve your goal, and the sky, they say, will be the limit eventually. And with God's backing, and you always achieve whatever you want to achieve.
Thank you so much, now. Focus. And what you said is in alignment with, was it Miss Falashayo? Yes, it was Miss Falashayo. When she mentioned 3 things that she wanted, she said, focus. These young people need to focus. So on the journey to significance, we have to remember that focus is key. Thank you so much for sharing, Mrs. Olubumi. And now, as we are rounding up, I'd like to bring Mr. Osaje for one more question. And that question is around the framework that he dropped for us. And please note, right after his question, right after his response, rather, we are going into a very short section where I'm just going to I'll do a short book launch and then the closing. Before the closing, we're going to take a picture. Every one of us is going to turn on our videos and the speakers are going to take a picture. So please powder your noses, blot the oil out of your face, brush your hair if you need to. For those that need to use lip gloss, please go ahead. All right, Mrs. Falashayo, I want to say thank you so much to Ms. Falashayo. She joined us before the meeting started, and she's still here right now. This shows a high level of commitment and focus, and we truly appreciate every single one of you. So, Mr. Osaje, just before we close, what informed your framework? Your framework is so good. I'm looking at it here, and it says, the framework for significance for men, and it says presence, right? Purpose, partnership, protection, and pattern. What informed you to just walk us through your thought? What informed you, if you can do that in about a minute, to put that together?
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that question. So when I got the topic right, I just thought through what life is as a man, right, and what expectations are in our society. I will look beyond the Nigerian society and look at the Western world, where we have situations where there's a lot of absent dads, which is now becoming something that's very common in our environment as well. And you have single parents. Sometimes it's women, sometimes it's men. it makes me realize how the importance of presence is, for instance, and what drives the presence is having a purpose and having a desire to be there and, making a difference. And at the end of the day, with every relationship, the knowledge that every relationship starts with partnership. Partnership is built before it becomes a marriage, right? Because even the Bible says, except to agree, how can they work together? Those were the foundations of what, brought about this whole framework for us to be able to work together, and realizing that the vulnerability of women needing protection is something that's really key in our society and environment today, made that also important, as well as ensuring that we are consistent. Remember, I spoke about accountability. So consistency is driven from accountability. That's what brought this together.
Thank you so much for that thought. We completely appreciate you. Thank you for putting that together. I know you said you didn't have enough time, and I jokingly said, what if you had more time? We're going to be here till tomorrow, right? So thank you so much for that. All right. So now I'm going to share my screen. And please permit me to do this real quick as we, bring the session to a close. Sorry about that. Please permit me to bring the session to a close real quick. All right. Okay, so we have it here. I am officially launching a book today, and this is the official book launch, right? So right now, the book is titled In Pursuit. Thank you, Osaje. In Pursuit of Significance. Essentially, everything that every single one of you has said today, is part of this book, because in one way or the other, significance cannot be achieved without focus, without the men, without the women, without looking at the different seasons of our lives that Mrs. Olubunmi shared with us, without looking at the different ways to remain significant while becoming like Miss Folashayo shared with us, right? Without even empowering the women, there can be no significance. So all of those ideas and those thoughts have all come together in this beautiful book that I have so written passionately for the world. And so for those, I would have loved to read a chapter or two from the book, but because of time, I will just summarize and say this book is for the person who wants to go from lack of clarity to significance. If you want to know how best to live your life, if you want to know how best to live a life of meaning and impact, then this book is for you. So today I launched the book and I officially declare it available, open, and launched for the world to see. So, however, the book is on pre-order. So for those who are going to be ordering it, who are going to be paying, they are going to get access to the book in about a few weeks, about 2 weeks. However, you can pre-order for the book today and you will get the e-copy with you in about 2 weeks. So the link will be shared. Alexandra will be sharing the link on Zoom and on YouTube. And if you're watching us on YouTube, I want to say thank you so much for hanging in with us, for sending in your questions, for participating, and for waiting till the book launch. Thank you so much. We have officially now come to the end of this program. So if you would like to send us questions, please, Alexandra, can you drop the email address that is info@insidebusiness.com.ng, info@presentright.com in the messages, and also drop it on YouTube. And if you would like to send us a message, please do so, and we will reach out to you as soon as we can. But I want to thank all our speakers. Mrs. Olubunmi, thank you so much for showing up. You know what I mean. Thank you. Thank you to Mr. Osaje for doing the work. And Mrs. Olubunmi worked all through the night. Ma, we appreciate your sacrifice. Mr. Osaje did excellent work, and he brought to us fire, right, with his presentations and with his uncommon wisdom for how men can support women. And Mrs. Folashayo helped us to paint a picture of what becoming looks like while we're still on a journey. And Mr. Sheike Abiola crowned it all up by showing us how we can practically ask questions that will lead us to helping helping people on their journey to significance. And I also want to thank Alexandra for being a beautiful compare. I want to thank everybody at the back end. Oluchi, you can't see her. Some people you can't see right now. I want to thank Sandra. I want to thank everybody at the back end who has made this event a success. I want to say thank you and God bless you. So right now we're going to be taking the photo of all our speakers. So with all our speakers, so please, yes, if you would like to support, if you'd like to launch the book with $1 million and above, that's how we roll over here. If you'd like to support with $1 million and above, please send me a DM and I'll send you the link. The link is already in the chat. It's already on YouTube. Please send me the link. Send me a DM and I will send you the link, or my people will send you the link, okay? All right, so I'm going to stop sharing now and I'm going to ask that everyone please turn their videos. Ms. Folashayo, thank you so much. You amaze me today. So let me do this. Okay, so can you all please give us your best smile, the one you reserve for the American Embassy, just before they give you your visa. All right, so let's give our best smile as Alexandra takes the picture for us. Alexandra, over to you. Okay, Alexandra, do we have it? Okay, she says 1 minute more. She says maybe she wants us to bend our head. We can't hear you, Dad. We can't hear you. You're muted. What do you want us to do?
Oh, I'm like, give me your biggest smile. Your happiest, cheeriest smile.
Okay.
All right, and we're good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much, everyone. At this juncture, I want to say thank you for staying. Thank you. I know we said we're going to finish at 1:30, it's about 1:47. We appreciate you for staying till the very end. God bless you all. Thank you. Alexandra?
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Over and out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Righty, that was such a powerful, beautiful session. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We honor you, we celebrate you, and we just want to thank you for, showing up with us like this and staying till the very end. Thank you, Osage. Thank you, Abiola. Thank you, Madam Olubumi, and thank you, Folashayo. Thank you for the powerful insights you shared on the journey to significance. Again, Osage, thank you for that framework for men, right? Thank you, Abiola, for your framework for supporting women. Thank you, Folashayo, for your, everybody came with the frameworks today. Folashayo, for your align, act and, adjust framework as well. And thank you, Madam Olubumi, for your framework for learning competence preparation, in across your seasons. It was a beautiful smorgasbord, right, of insights on our journey to significance. And I would just like to end this session, by saying that please go to presentright.seller.com and /Adiola Babatun to pre-order the book and support the pre-order, the launch process. We do $1 million here, so please pre-order the book online as well. And I would also like to close this session finally, to just highlighting specific words that have been shared in this session, right? That significance is a compendium of your choices and courage and confidence. That's by Folashayo. By Osage, significance is a pattern, not a moment. That's so powerful. Significance begins at home and then scales in the workplace and in other contexts, right? And so Madam Olubumi's significance, she's competence builds success, but character builds significance, just, take it out of the water. And then to Mr. Abiola, that says that significance, right, grows when you continue to foster inclusion and understanding of both genders, not just the women, but also it has to be mutual, right? And I just want to say thank you all for turning up. And so we'll close the 2026 Now You See Me conference with a bang. Thank you again, and looking forward to having you next year. And happy International Women's Day to all the beautiful women around the world. In fact, it's Women's Month, right, as we typically say. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And enjoy your day, enjoy your month, and go be significant. Do not wait, for clarity. Clarity is found in movement, right? Thank you so much again. And this is
Bye,
bye. Yeah,
everyone.
yeah,
Bye. Have a good day, everyone.
yes. Bye bye. Toodles, everyone.